Hi everybody, and welcome back to StorytellerSpira's channel, where we are back on lovely Tuesday night Vampire the Masquerade schedule. So welcome back, and we will be playing episode 16. Took me a second. Episode 16 of New Orleans by Night, and we had a bit of a cliffhanger, kind of. It is definitely in the middle of a scene, sort of. Characters discovered some interesting things they're going to be following up on this episode. But first and foremost, how is everybody doing?
Super awesome.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I got coffee this time, so hopefully I won't be falling asleep on camera like last week.
I like it. Smart thinking.
Nice. Coz and I were back and forth like, do we have any caffeine around? And we ordered Coke with like some food we were getting, but I was like, I don't want to down like 2 giant cups of Coke, just get some caffeine.
Just get the 2-liter next to you and just fucking chug a lug when you need it.
Yeah, I had some Coke, but I also remembered we had some cold brew, so if I worst come to worst, if I need a little extra kick.
I mean, if you did a line of Coke, you should be great.
Ugh.
Only for a little bit though, then it's downhill from there.
But yes, and how is our lovely audience this evening? So I was trying to pick some music. This one's a little floaty, but we'll let it go for now. Been trying to get a couple extra tracks so it's not the same music I've been playing for like 2 years. But anyway, we'll do a little bit of a summary from last game. So, last game, everybody had gathered to meet with this mysterious person known as the General, who claims to be a part of a kindred organization that looks into masquerade breaks in the traditions that, at least in their opinion, are not being dealt with properly. A little bit of a mercenary vigilante group, kind of, assuming the prince in a city is not looking into something for, at worst, nefarious reasons, at best, incompetency. And so they're all very concerned about these disappearances in New Orleans and are hoping to work with our group of intrepid kindred in looking into it and solving it, especially as far as this auction goes that seems to be revolving around the idea of selling kindred or freshly turned humans for diablerie. After their meeting with the General, leaving the area, they got a call from the Bruja Jake, who was unofficially kind of assigned as a bodyguard to Rebecca the mage, and he said that he went to check on her, just being in the neighborhood, and found her apartment door open and her cell phone laying on the floor. So he reached out to them to see if any of them had heard from her, because this did not look like a good scene. Theo, especially, as well as the others, realizing this is not good, decided to rush over to Rebecca's apartment to do a little investigation on their own. Just before that, Luther and Dinah had met up with the Toreador Morgaine, who is also in a scrap of trouble, as it seems someone either possibly manipulated her into stealing some paintings from a local gallery, or impersonated her, or faked a video, something along those lines. But there is video of her stealing paintings, and Luther and Dinah offered to help look into this as well. Morgaine decided to travel along with the group, so along with all of our kindred players, Morgaine and Jake were looking around Rebecca's apartment, trying to figure out what happened, where she went, anything that could help. Theo also called Marcel, demanding that he send the SWAT team, quote unquote, to come and help sort this out, figure out who may have taken her or where she went. He also sent out a text to all of his major contacts and allies around the city saying he would pay $1,000 to the first person to provide actual evidence or a picture or anything to say that they've seen her. Abraham, using his higher levels of auspex, went and checked by the window where her cell phone had been found, and got an image of Rebecca and Tuna escaping. He also checked the door, and I believe he did see an image. Oh, Dinah did. Dinah saw an image by the front door of the two technocrats they had seen at a previous party in a local bar. So, putting everything together, they figured out that these two technocrats were coming to look in on Rebecca. Rebecca did, it seems, safely get out of her apartment, but did leave her cell phone behind, and no one has heard from her otherwise. As they all continue discussing their plans, Abraham made the suggestion that perhaps everyone could go and speak with the Tremere in the local chantry, seeing as they're the most likely to have any lines of communication or contact or information about mages, magic users in the city. So we were actually still in Rebecca's apartment, because Bonnie unfortunately had to miss our game. Abraham decided to meet up with his investigator, his private investigator, and look through a few lines in that direction, leaving the others to their other means of investigation and research, such as either meeting with the Tremere, waiting for Marcel, whatever else. But let's tune in on them in the apartment. This is the bit of information they've gathered so far. So Luther, Theo, Bjorn, Dinah, along with Morgaine and Jake, you're still in the apartment waiting for Marcel and or anybody he sends to show up.
What? So who do we talk to about this? What? I mean, we can't just walk up to these mages and ask them their business, I'd imagine.
Oh, I can. Or I can try.
I mean, we don't even know where they are. Well, actually,
Why don't we find out?
no, we saw them at the that hotel out on the outskirts of the city.
Oh, you did. That's right. Are they still there?
I mean, I don't know if they're still there, but I could definitely drive us there, but I know where it's at. But besides that, and a pair of eyes, I'm not much more help after.
I mean, it seems like, for now at least, she got away. And she really didn't want us messing with these technophilic mage bastards. So maybe we shouldn't walk up to their door.
I was more thinking along the lines of, does anyone know any of Rebecca's mage friends?
Can't say I ever met any. No.
I've met her cat.
Counts, but not particularly helpful in this instance.
Well, I mean, we have a phone, right? Maybe we can.
We do have a phone. I can check at the hospital to see if she showed back up there. I doubt it, but it's worth a shot. I don't know where she would go.
Theo, Bjorn, and Dinah, go ahead and give me intelligent streetwise.
That'll be 2 successes.
Oops, hold on. There we go. 3 successes. I rolled Z12. I just happened to click on the dice itself. I didn't realize that I rolled it.
No problem. Alright, Theo is logging into Roll20.
You kids are lucky I even know how to use a laptop.
Three.
3 successes.
Okay. One second. Alright, in that case, just as some background info for specifically Theo, Bjorn, and Dinah, after Abraham made his suggestion about possibly speaking with the Tremere, Theo and Bjorn, you do know of 3 of the older Tremere in the city. There's a total of 4 of them. You know of Antonio, who seems at least physically younger and very brash, but Theo, you do believe he's actually the sire of Nigel, who otherwise seems older and more put together than Antonio. Similarly, there is Sebastian, though you don't know as much about him, except that you think he might be related, actually a child or sire to one of the other 2 men. Dinah, on the other hand, you don't really know much about those 3, other than having heard their names, but you do know of Marie, who is one of the 4 Tremere. She stands out amongst the 3 of them, because, well, they seem like they've been around New Orleans at least for a few decades. Marie seems very young and new, even new to being kindred. You've definitely seen her at kind of among the younger crowds at the clubs. And she definitely seems very much like a neonate. So you have your question about whether she is actually recently embraced, but you've seen her around town for a long time, and it doesn't look like she aged. So very kind of a curious mix of her age, how long she's been around, and how she seems to react to a lot of kindred social situations.
Okay.
That was just to get that out of the way.
Sure. I don't know. I could try to go to the Tremere, but I don't know what help that would do. I don't know how involved they are with the non-kindred mages in the city.
Morgane speaks up. Well, you said she worked at the hospital, right? I mean, that might be a good place.
I don't know if she would show back up there, though. I mean, I'll probably go and look in any case. I'll go right now if someone wants to go with me.
Yeah, I can drive you. We've been there before.
Morgane rubs her arm. Well, I'd like to stick with you two if I'm welcome. I still don't exactly know what I'm going to say to the prince yet.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this
What did the prince do now?
No, just nothing wrong in this case. For one.
He's on his way here, so if you're avoiding him, maybe don't hang around.
Yeah, hey Luther, could we, like, head out to your car? Dinah, if you want to stay, we can wait for you.
Yeah,
Do
of
you
course.
need help with the prince?
Theo, it is, we don't, no, there's nothing, just,
Well, let me know. I'll get my spanking paddle out and I'll give him one for you.
I appreciate it, Theo. And he'll pop out his arm a little bit for her to take it, and we'll start walking down.
Really quick, I just remembered at the end of last session, I did bring up that Dinah should try to pull up the security cameras from the club.
Yes.
Where the technocrats, sorry, I didn't remember if you mentioned it in the recap or not, but so that is another thing Dinah could do, is take a stop at the club to pull up the security cameras and see if we can get actual pictures of who these gents are.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Just stop there afterwards.
Can't hurt. All right, well, let's go, I guess.
Theo, you guys mentioned that the prince is on the way. Does somebody need to take care? What exactly is the prince coming here for?
Well, him or someone who's really good at tracking. I asked him for a bloodhound. I don't know if that's going to be like a literal bloodhound or like some really fucked up Nazi with dog jowls, but whatever works.
Like he said, as long as it works.
I could also theoretically just keep trying to relive, see moments down the street as we go, seeing if it happened or not. Like what happened at different places.
I'm not going to say no to more help, but I don't know any good trackers, so I figured I'll call in a favor.
That works. So if you guys wanted to get going, I guess Theo and I will stay here and wait for the quote-unquote bloodhound to arrive.
Oh my god, please let that be his nickname.
Send us a text if anything new comes about, all right?
Will
Likewise.
do. Let us know if you need help with whatever prince thing you're doing. Hopefully this will keep him busy for the night.
Yeah, I mean, if he asks, don't feel like you need to lie to him. If anything, this gives us plenty of reason why she's not with him.
You'd have to pay me to tell him the truth.
All right, then. And Luther will kind of peek out the door and start hurrying before the prince starts showing up.
Yeah, if you even start toward, like, the more, like, elevator main stairs, Morgane's gonna spin you around and look for the fire exit.
He'll look confused then. He'll be like, oh, all right, yeah, let's go.
Alright, so Luther, Morgane, and Dinah trail out of the apartments, heading out the back way down to the parking lot to get in his car, and they're going to first head off to the hospital to see if they can find any reference to Rebecca calling in to coworkers or calling out of work, anything like that. In the meantime, Theo and Bjorn remain back in the apartment waiting for Marcel to arrive, which does happen not too long from then because Theo had made it pretty urgent and they had spent some time already investigating around the apartment. So after the three Toreadors leave and Abraham himself had already left, got a cab, and went to go meet with his private investigator, Theo and Bjorn, you hear two sets of footsteps coming along, and did you leave the door open or did you close it?
I would imagine we would have just left the door open.
Yeah, I don't think me or him are too worried about people walking up on us.
Alright, so as you hear these footsteps approaching, you then see Marcel's face turn around the door jamb, give a quick look inside, seeing only the two of you, he steps in, and just behind him is Dutch, essentially the leader of the Bruja in the city. Now, Theo and Bjorn, you would both know this is actually a pretty good choice. Well, you wouldn't necessarily invite him to a philosophical debate or an art gallery showing. If you need someone to go out in the night and not necessarily even have shelter while they're tracking someone, Dutch is a pretty good bet.
We would know Dutch, right?
Yes, he is, as I said, basically been the leader of the Bruja in the city for a very long time. Heck of a good fighter, high survival, good tracking abilities, so...
I mean, like, we would know him.
Yes, no,
He's a
would know him.
Bruja, and I'm a good friend of the Bruja.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, you know that, like, Jake is his second hand, only that Jake's a bit younger, so you never really interacted with him much before. But you and Bjorn would be, like, on good terms with Dutch, probably even have gone out drinking and partying.
I'll see Marcel first come through the door, and I'll just nod Marcel, and then see Dutch. Ah, Dutch!
Dutch walks up, kind of half laughing, and reaches out an arm to give a really hearty handshake to both you and Bjorn. What's up?
I've lost something that I'm really desperate to find again.
That's what I heard, so... And he looks between the two of you and Marcel. What am I tracking?
Woman. Her name's Rebecca. This is her apartment.
We think she escaped through the window, probably being chased by some people. Some real nasty bastards in the city.
Alright. So without another word, Dutch is actually going to start moving around the apartment. You see him not touch anything directly, but he'll lean in very close, both to, like, look at things and even, like, get a little whiff of scents here and there.
We think she's got her cat with her.
Yeah, I can smell that.
I'll look at the prince. I'll look at the prince, look at Dutch, think about whispering for a second, and realize the complete folly in that. Marcel, should we tell him about the extracurricular activities she gets up to?
Marcel folds his arms and says, well, seeing as this is an investigation, it's not always wise to keep your, finer details in the dark. But I'll leave it to you, Theo.
No, your city, your call. The more people know, the more it spreads.
I meant, yes, but I'll leave it to you to explain.
Oh, she's a mage. Or a magician. Magic dude. Not like the Tremere, though. Not vampire. I don't know if they smell funny or have the whole aura thing.
So as Dutch is continuing to search around the apartment, just looking for things that might give him clues as to her, potential whereabouts and general investigation, he looks up at Theo and Marcel and cocks an eyebrow. Is that like those weirdos you were telling me about? The humans that are kind of like Tremere? Marcel just gives a silent nod. So at that, Dutch just snorts and continues looking around. Alright, well, what else can you tell me about her? I mean, more I know, more makes it easier.
I'll probably just quick list off. She works at the local hospital. She's kind of adverse to hurting things, it seems. People. She's really scared of this other faction of mages called the Technocracy. She generally trusts me, so I was surprised she didn't hide out in any of my places. She's newer to the city, but she grew up here as a child. Any pertinent details, Bjorn? Oh, physical description, obviously.
Not sure if you mentioned she works at the hospital, but I think you pretty much covered everything else.
Yeah, rundown of everything Theo knows about her for the most part.
Dutch pulls down the sleeve of the leather jacket he's wearing and opens a closet door and tries to, without making much of a mess or move too much around, kind of, just like parts of clothes out of the way, pushes a vacuum over to look for anything interesting, and he seems to come across a spare collar, it looks like, which he does grab and put in his coat pocket. Well, and he turns back to the group. Did anybody actually ask the Tremere if they know anything?
I don't know. Are they even worth talking to?
I mean, you can understand us both putting that, procrastinating that.
I mean, it's like a daycare. I don't know.
I'll note, I've said before, like, they're the losers, but I meant they're kind of really outcasts for a mix of different reasons. You guys would all know they're still pretty powerful. Like, you're not gonna just walk up to their house and knock on their door. They probably have wards on most of them.
Yeah, I will get in contact with, and like Theo's gonna rack his brain. I'm sure I've met one of them. I may have dated one years ago. Oh wait, no, that was a dog. Anyway, sure, we'll get a hold of him and follow up.
Marcel sighs and folds his arms and says to Theo, "If there was anyone to check with first, it would probably be Nigel. I can give you the address to his apartment in town. That one, at least, doesn't have 5,000 magical security elements wrapped around it. Just maybe 12.
As long as they don't blow up people, I'm fine.
I can call ahead. He's fairly reasonable. I might avoid Antonio, as he might make things more complicated."
Yeah, I do really well with complex, sprawling details.
Either way, appreciate it if the tip there. But yeah, that does make sense. We could get in contact with Nigel. What do you say? Is your name? Damn it. Theo, there we go. Kept wanting to say Tony, and I'm like, no, it's another Theo.
You need to,
Theo.
You should catch up on your vitamins there, buddy. I think I'm rubbing off on you. But yeah, let's go do that.
I mean, yes, we have been spending an inordinate amount of time together, and it's obviously having a turn for the worse.
So, as you finish up deciding what you're doing next, Dutch seems to be done with his investigation inside the apartment and just nods between Theo and Bjorn. Do you have an idea which way she went at all?
Bjorn, or I'll just literally point out the window that she left through, last thing that we know is she left through that window.
Fun. And you see him go over, lift the window, and start crawling out into the fire escape.
Well, shall we, Thea?
Should I close that window, or do you think he's coming back through?
Marcel sighs and shakes his head. Even if he is, I'm sure he can manage on his own without breaking the glass. He's fairly handy. Listen, I have something I was hoping to sort out later this evening. I have someone else I need to track down, so,
Who's that? Maybe I'll see them on our little run around the city.
with a bit of annoyance, not at Theo, just the situation. He scratches at his beard. If you see Morgane, can you please tell her I need to speak with her right away?
What, the art lady?
Yes, the sculptor, bit of a passionate attitude.
What'd she do? I mean, I owe you one. I might as well keep an eye out.
Potential masquerade breaking situation. That's why I want to speak with her. It seems out of character, but the evidence is mounting.
I'll keep an eye out. If I see anyone, I'll let you know.
I'd appreciate it, Theo, and of course I will otherwise be on my cell phone if you need any further information. Right, and he pulls out his cell phone and immediately texts you and Bjorn the address for Nigel's apartment. And as he starts walking out of Rebecca's apartment, still cell phone in hand and still texting, I'll let him know you're coming by.
Thank you. We'll see you later, Your Honor.
He throws back a hand, like, kind of just waving off your joke. Alright, so Theo and Bjorn are going to be heading their way toward the Tremere Nigel's apartment. We will tune in back then with Luther and Dinah heading over to the hospital that Rebecca works at.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever named it. We'll say that she works at the New Orleans East Hospital. It is a large general hospital, so.
Okay.
Are we in the car or are we inside already?
I think that's up to you.
Yeah, let's just start off like walking in. Unless you want to
Sure.
have like a conversation.
I'm good.
Alright, so you two arrive at East General and head into the main entrance where the reception area is. There's a middle-aged man typing away at a computer and another younger woman just filing some papers. Otherwise, there's only a couple people in the lobby. They look like they're waiting for a ride or for someone else to come meet them.
I guess I'd kind of stop before we get too close to him. So how we plan this? We just asking as concerned friends, or what do we want to do here?
We'll say that we came here to surprise Rebecca if she was on her break, and we're wondering if she was working here tonight.
Okay, all right.
I just want to see if she was here at all.
No, yeah, all right. And I'll walk forward.
And unless you have another idea, like I'm all open. I'm all ears, Luther.
No, I had no idea. I was just making sure I wasn't going to jump this way down. I wasn't going to jump into this the wrong way.
I just pulled that out of my ass. So
Yeah. And he'll walk forward to the receptionist kind of lady.
Alright, yeah, so it is a younger girl with like messy, dirty blonde hair, kind of just done up in a bun. She's wearing light blue scrubs, and you can see by the plate in front of her desk that her name is Teresa. She looks up at the three of you as you enter and says, "Good evening, what can I do for you?"
Hey, Teresa. We are here looking for Rebecca. We're her friends. We just wanted to kind of visit her. Is she in today?
Oh, yeah, you got the last name? I'll say that you do. And she goes typing away. It takes her a little bit. You see her going through like a couple pages on the side of her monitor. She's squinting, looking around.
Oh, she works here. She's not a patient.
The receptionist got that. She's going through schedules.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, as many people work here, I gotta double check who's on what floor and who's been switched. It takes a little while, and then she nods. I think she was supposed to come in for a midnight shift, but it looks like she switched with someone. I don't think she's gonna be in until late tomorrow evening.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, thank you for looking for us, honey.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to leave your message? I know you said you wanted to surprise her.
Oh, that's all right. It wasn't that big a deal. We were just in the area. Thanks, honey.
Yeah, not a problem.
Well, she's not here.
I had the feeling, but I mean, who knows? It's a packed area. Maybe she would have felt safe. It doesn't matter. So now we go check the videos, I guess, to try and get.
I suppose if Marcel's got someone bloodhound, they're gonna have an easier time tracking her than we will. So it's probably best if we try the other angle. So yeah, let's go get the video.
Well, yeah, we could probably show the video to this bloodhound character, and I'm sure that will ease this whole process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if his leads turn up dry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Let's get going.
Real quick, storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
How secure would we feel relatively using our phones for sensitive information?
Give me an example.
Say I wanted to text Dinah and Luther about that the prince is looking for her for breaking the masquerade and evidence is mounting. Would I feel safe doing so from my phone?
I would say probably for the most part, but you might use slightly more vague terms like Marcel is looking for Margaine related to a break. It's going to be clear enough to another kindred kind of what that means. You wouldn't necessarily put all the finer terms in there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll text them that. I'll just do...
Or
Prince...
for court, something like that.
Yeah, well, I would say, evidence is building for a break. Just a heads up.
I'd probably send back
What's the thumbs up?
yeah. Thank you for the heads, or cool. But also done at the hospital. Nothing seems to be there, or she doesn't seem to be here. If we're still walking to the car and Morgaine's not with us, I would lean over and well, should we tell her about this evidence mounting, or should we just kind of keep that to ourselves?
As you started to walk out of the hospital, she was with you, but she starts to linger. She had taken her cell phone out of her pocket, and you see her texting a whole bunch kind of frantically. So you have a moment to walk a few feet ahead.
Okay. Then yeah, I would just kind of nod at the phone and be like, should we mention something, or?
I think she already knows she's in trouble. It wouldn't really help anything.
Agreed. All right. But maybe after, if we get far enough away, I'd kind of be like, look, I'm always here to help anyone who needs it, but who knows if we are harboring someone who actually did do a break. I mean, after the videos, why don't we kind of drop off?
Sure, we can go in with her too, since I don't think we have any other leads to follow up on at the moment.
No, of course, yeah, we go in with her, and I still want to keep my word that we'll be there and try and help her out of this situation, but I'm just saying we might be a kind of sooner rather than later thing.
So Morgaine realizes that you two have gone a little bit ahead, and she sprints to catch up. Oh, hey, sorry, I was checking with someone that I thought might have been with me the other night. Nope.
No problem. Now we're gonna go head over to a club and see if we can pull up some old videos.
Oh, is this part of the thing?
Yeah, we know for a fact that the people that were at least chasing Rebecca went to a nightclub that we were at a couple weeks ago. So we see if we get some, at least see if we get their faces on video and give us something that we can show people.
Didn't. Diana looks like she was going to ask something and then decided not to say it in front of Morgan.
You all right, Dinah? You got something?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right. And Luther will get in the car.
Yeah, once you get in the car, you can downtime whatever, if you want, you can downtime it, or if you just want to fill in any specific details. But Morgane's gonna poke and kind of ask a couple specific questions, like, who exactly is this Rebecca to all of you, and who are these guys that might have taken her? What's up with these supposed weirdos?
Yeah, Luther would probably be pretty... Ooh, wait, actually, is it Masquerade breaking to do vampire stuff in front of a mage?
Not really. It's supposed to specifically be mortals not in the know. So maybe...
The prince knows about her, so yeah, obviously not. Sorry, that was a silly question.
You could even kind of infer that the fact that these mages are supernatural in their own way, and probably wouldn't want you spouting out about what they are any more than you would want the same. The traditions are very specifically about humans, not seeing you perform things that are unknown to them, because since like the Middle Ages, there's been this whole to-do about making vampires a myth and letting humans forget that they actually exist.
Gotcha.
The creation of the Camarilla and the traditions was after the Inquisition.
Then yeah, he would feel no problem. And do you want us to role play it, or just, how do you want to deal with it?
I only wanted to know if you would state specifically that Luther would hide anything, or anything you'd specifically want to share with Morgane, since you two have a vaguely close relationship.
No, he wouldn't hide anything.
Okay. So when you start explaining exactly what Rebecca is and how she met all of you and why she's even gotten close to you at all, as well as these two creepy suits that seem to be following her, her eyes just grow wider and wider out of interest. You're kidding me. I thought only like the Tremere could do that. No, that makes sense. I mean, that's their story that they tell everybody, right? That they used to be humans who did that, or... Anyway, that's crazy. How old is she?
Oh, she's obviously not as old as us, but she's young. I'll look at that. What was she, 20-something or other?
Mm-hmm. China doesn't seem to approve of explaining about Rebecca to Arcane, who she doesn't super know very well.
Luther would have no problem. Yeah, it's, I don't know, around 25ish, I would say, maybe.
Huh. That's... wow. It's just kind of... I feel like it shouldn't be a lot stake in being what we are, but it's still so strange.
Right? Yeah. It threw me off as well, but I don't know. She's just a sweet little girl that's been hanging around that Theo kind of took under his wing, and she's probably in this mess because of us. So I feel like our duty to kind of get her out of it.
That's mighty sweet of you, Luther, but that's par for the course, isn't it?
Yeah, Luther's nothing if not a sweetheart.
We're lucky to have you in the town, otherwise I think all our lives would fall apart.
Yeah,
Or at least be the worse for wear.
Shining beacon of sweet cuddliness, I guess.
Cold cuddliness, maybe.
So other than that, that's basically the conversation Morgane wanted to have while you make your way over to the club. But you arrive there not too long after, and again, this was a pretty small club, though well designed. So it's got about a regular horseshoe bar on one end and a stage on the other, with enough room for a couple dozen people to dance on the dance floor in between, few bar standing tables as well as some booths, and a staircase that leads up to a very small balcony, just a little extra seating room for people to enjoy the live bands that play here. It does have a back room that can be used for a multitude of small gatherings, which is where, during Dinah's previous party, they had held their auction with all of the unique occult items that everybody had brought to hopefully draw out the occult interested in the city. So, Dinah, you don't have any investment in this place. It's just one that you tend to work with now and again.
Yeah, she doesn't own any particular place. She she has contacts in like venues and musicians and stuff like that. This is a venue that she often suggests to people.
Mm-hmm. I know I gave it a name several months ago.
Was it like some over-the-top, slightly vampire-y name? I feel like it was.
Yeah, it probably was. It's gonna be
Twilight
rechristened.
Lounge, I think, maybe?
I think it was the Twilight something. We're gonna call it the Twilight Lounge because I can't remember. So it changed owners recently. They slightly changed the name. So you pull up.
Just barely changed it. Not much.
Sure.
Just a little bit.
It's really good business practice to not change too much about a location, because then you can scare off all your regulars. So the Twilight Lounge is pretty active even for Monday nights, but it doesn't seem like there's a live band playing. It seems like music is just being played over speakers, and there's just a handful of people both at the bar and in the booths, and just a couple people, dancing around with each other out on the floor. Entering the lounge, Dinah, you'll recognize one of the bartenders that you are actually pretty sure is human. So they might not know too much about any business that sometimes goes on in this club between kindred and ghouls. And if you rack your brain for a second, you do remember that his name was Thomas.
Okay. Well, we probably need to speak to the manager to get the tapes, right? Okay. So Dinah will walk up to him and be like, "Hey, Thomas, how you doing, honey?"
Thomas looks up from pulling a draft beer for a customer and smiles. He definitely before seemed very enthused with Dinah, maybe even thought she was a little pretty, and just smiles a little too toothily. Oh, hey, Dinah, right? Yeah, hey, what are you doing?
Hey, I came back because I needed to talk with the manager. Who's the manager? What's the manager's name?
Gregory.
I would know the manager's name, huh? What?
Gregory.
I need to talk to Gregory for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It's a minute.
Yeah. Let me get these two over here, and I'll go fetch them for you. So he finishes pouring the beers. Huh?
I said thanks, sugar.
So he finishes pouring a couple beers, and quick as a bunny, runs out of the bar and up the stairs to where a small, office is tucked away from the side of the balcony area. And after a few minutes, both he and Gregory come walking back down. Gregory, is a ghoul of a younger kindred in the city. So someone that doesn't necessarily have a ton of power or resources, but enough to claim, one or two places as haven or a small domain. So you see Gregory come out. He's about late 30s, really short cropped brown hair and a little bit of a goatee. He's got a decent build, probably someone who used to work out and is letting himself go a little bit, at least before he was Gould, since it doesn't change all that much after. But otherwise seems to have sort of a healthy build. He sees you with Luther and Morgaine and strides up, putting out a hand for whoever wants to take it.
I mean, I'll take it, sure.
I'll take
Hey,
it. afterwards.
Gregory. Shakes his hand.
Dinah, it's good to see you again. And your friends here?
Oh, this is Luther. Remember he helped set up the event a few weeks ago?
Nice to meet you, sir.
Oh,
And
of course. The
And
event
this is
was,
Morgaine.
the event was fantastic. Made a lot of money, and I think a few new regulars. And he nods at Morgaine. He seems to almost. It looks like he almost recognizes her, but he doesn't say anything.
Okay. But we need to take a look at if you have any security footage of that night. There's somebody that we just want to check up on, and we think they were here. Actually, pretty positive.
Right. Let's see. That was about a month going back now. I think I'll still have those tapes around. I usually archive them after a bit, but I keep them for a little bit just in case I want to check something. Someone comes in and says, hey, missing a wallet, and I think I was here a couple weeks ago. If you want, you can come up with me.
Sure. Yeah.
So you sidle into a small office. It kind of barely just fits the four of you. And Gregory sits himself down on a office chair that squeaks loudly under his decent bit of weight. But he rolls over to a small set of monitors, and you see him actually switch wires from like one external hard drive to another, and starts playing around looking for the tapes. After a little while, he nods and shakes his head. Yep. Alright, this should be it. You got a time frame, location in the bar? I got a few camera angles.
Yeah, I'm assuming he would know when we would have been leaving, because they followed. I forget if they followed Rebecca and I, or if Rebecca and I followed them.
I think they stepped outside first, and then you guys stepped out. It was just about the same time, and then you were like across from each other, and that was when Rebecca tried or made the what is it called? The mark on the one guy.
Yeah, so let's try front door around 10 o'clock or so, maybe 11.
Alright, so he scrolls around, and as you see him riding up just to that point, you do see the two of them step out. Now, from the angle, it's not great, but you can definitely make out the clothes they're wearing, their haircuts, their heights, and at least in the one guy, the one that Rebecca had marked, you can like really get a good sense of like the side profile of his face, the like sharp jawline, and he does like turn his head a bit because he had been looking over at Rebecca.
Did he pause it, or is he still playing it?
He was letting it run slow, like he was fast forwarding, then lets it play, and you can from what you remember that night, the two of you, Luther and Rebecca, were outside talking. She was a little nervous, and the two of them stand there as if they were just waiting for something.
Pause. Do you have any way that you can print out this image, or?
I don't got a great printer, but I can definitely save the image if you want to go somewhere with something a little better. But I mean, I could definitely do that.
Both of those sound wonderful, and Luther will even take out his cell phone and kind of just like take a photo of what's on the screen and send it to the group chat. So our other buddies have it.
Tuck. Enhance.
Yeah. Enhance.
Nice.
So, Gregory goes about printing a couple stills for you. Again, they're pretty grainy, but especially with, say, like, Auspex or other resources, not too bad to at least have that resource. And then he also saves them as images and sends them along to your number.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I don't know how we can thank you enough.
Oh, not at all. Dinah does a great job of making sure I get butts in seats, so anything I can do to help. I wouldn't mind.
Heather wanted to do something, but I'll talk to you about that later.
Of course. If you wouldn't mind, what exactly do you need these gentlemen for? I can keep an eye on them if they come into the club. Is this a police matter?
Well, I think they might have gotten away with one of the items that were on an auction. One of the things that we had there that night. I think they might have gone after it. So it's just we're not exactly sure, and we kind of want to keep it to ourselves for right now.
From the night of the auction?
I think they might have used the auction more of a way of staking out some items that I have. So.
Oh, understood. Because I was gonna say, I kept a keen eye on those items. I didn't recognize anything going missing except who we were supposed to go home with.
No, Greg.
So you did a fine job, honey.
Yeah, exactly. You did a great job. No, we're talking about at a later time. I think they might have been looking at some of the items and following us. It's. Don't even worry about it.
Well, if you tell me what the item is, then I can see who bought it and give you some of that information.
No, it wasn't an actual. I don't think you understand. He wasn't exactly going after one of those items. It was more like a house burglary that happened afterwards. That they were going after just more of a stockpile of items. Not it. Gregory, it is. You are no. It's fine.
Dinah just looks kind of amused as poor Luther flounders.
Morgane turned her back from the whole situation. She's just standing there because she's with the two of you. But Dinah might see like a little crack on the side of her cheek as well. Gregory looks a
We
little.
think they were trying to stake out us, basically, one of us, and then find us later.
Oh, like going to the auction and see whose house to raid next?
Exactly.
Something like that. Mm-hmm.
Alright, well, like I said, now I've seen their faces. I'll make sure that if I see them around, I'll either let you know, or if they're acting shady enough, I might even just call the police myself.
All right. Thank you
so
so
much.
much. You're really helpful. Well, thank you for your help. I'll be in touch with you about something else in later. It's not as important. But thank you so much. We'll be on our way.
Yeah, of course. Let me show you out. And he walks you back out onto the street and waves you off. Let's see. Dinah and Luther, if you want, you can give me perception, empathy at difficulty 8.
One.
I don't know what feelings are.
You double botched, and I got one success. Truly, we are the best toreadors right now. Just the best.
We're the power team.
Oh yeah, the dream team. With that old 1-2-1 success double botch.
It's just a really good thing you guys aren't the face of this group.
That's right.
Ouch. Yeah, wouldn't it be horrible if we're constantly the face?
That might not work out well.
No.
Dinah's like, I can make you love me.
Dinah can do that. Yeah, Dinah can absolutely do that. Yeah.
That'd be the best reaction to a botch on like a standard roll to get someone like charming subterfuge. You botch, you're like, enticed. Alright,
you like me.
ta-da! So Dinah, you notice almost imperceptibly, so you're not even sure if you've noticed anything or not, but it does look once again like Gregory and Morgaine kind of catch each other's eye, but don't say anything to each other. Luther?
Yeah. What do I notice?
What does he know?
I know it's so hard to do botches on like noticing things. Like, what?
Right.
How do you unnotice? Like, did you forget what Rebecca looked like?
Did he
Like
Is there a very palpable romantic tension
exactly,
between them?
exactly. Like he notices something, but he just he perceives it.
No,
right
that's
away.
perfect. Yeah, Luther, you kind of notice this glance, but you take it way out of context. Like, some weird bout of jealousy. Like your beast kind of growls a little. You don't even really like Morgaine that much, but something like makes you feel a little uncomfortable about this kind of pudgy middle-aged ghoul and Morgaine maybe having something. It's just a bout of like irrational like reaction. Yes.
No, that's just inappropriate.
Well, are we done here, or are we sticking around?
Oh yeah, no, we're finished, honey.
I'm gonna say though, because it is a double botch, Dinah at least recognizes Luther reacts weirdly to what she might have noticed. Maybe that's what distracts you from fully checking out. You're like, wait, what? So now you're really confused on why Luther seems to have maybe just coughed suddenly.
Alright, well let's head back out.
Alright, at that point we'll take our first little break, and then we'll check in on Theo and Bjorn meeting with a brand new Tremere to the story. Yeah, so as usual... as usual, anybody in the chat, if you have questions about our game or player characters or anything else, you can feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, we're just going to chat for a couple minutes. People might run off for a second, and then we'll get back to the game.
I so wanted Theo to be in that scene so he could just like slide in from off frame and just be like, tra la 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 la, you have to kiss me, girl. Whoa, whoa. I really hope there's like some sort of celebration, hopefully a birthday, because I really want to just sing happy birthday in Theo's voice. And I want it to be like a D&D bard effect where like everyone loses one willpower. Including Theo. Everyone.
Animals outside, everything loses it.
So I'm liking this Luther and Dinah go and just interrogate random people by lying. This is great.
Doing the one thing they aren't good at.
Dinah's good at lying.
I guess actually no, Luther's
Very
good at
much.
lying
I
too.
was gonna say, I thought you two were like built as face characters.
We are. Yeah, no, we are built for that.
We're built for it. It's just not the dice.
Dinah's freaking great at lying, technically, most of the time.
You know, sometimes just the player themselves stammer, and it looks like the character is really fucking up on his words.
I completely feel you on that, man. I feel you so hard. That happened to me a lot when I was playing Kim. And then I just kind of made it part of the way she talks to cover it up. Where she goes, and like just kind of stammers sometimes. It was honestly because I didn't know what the fuck to say and just kind of started incorporating it into her mannerisms because Malkavian, so it's fine. So...
It's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. I never really go for face characters. Despite all my characters being like snark to the 11th degree.
I used to love to play support characters when I first started out doing D&D because I wanted to like be the blacksmith or be whatever. It's fun to be the goofy one, you know? But like somebody has to be the face, and I found that a lot of times, and it's nothing wrong with it. I like being support characters still. I like being support characters. But a lot of times I found that if the whole group is all support characters, then nothing ever gets done. So I started branching out and trying to play more face characters, and then I just started making them for fun every now and then, like this one. So, yeah.
I feel like a face character has too much, like, too integral of a role in the game that, like, it can't be like Theo, where he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go off in this random branch because that's what I feel like doing. Or Theo, or Ike, who's just flipping anyway. So, like, he could go left or right and it didn't steer the story anywhere, but, like, a face character can drive the whole story into a weird direction.
Yes.
Like, why exactly are we on Coney Island, dressed as clowns, on a Thursday evening, meeting with a goth group?
This is why I'm
Like,
glad that
shush.
Kim's not entirely the face of the New York group, because, like, she's a fucking Malkavi. You don't know. Like, she's alright right now. We have no fucking clue where that might end up later.
I was only going to argue that other characters can still lead the stories, especially, you know, you can just be intimidating, like, and lead things that way. You don't have to be the high charisma, high subterfuge character.
It's not like especially in World of Darkness, it's not like a D&D party anymore. And if a good storyteller will incorporate something for every character to lead in their own way to push arcs and plots and stuff, which you are, yay. So
Does Bjorn have any intimidation?
Yes.
Theo does not. Theo's at 0. Theo's like, no, who would be scared of Theo?
The other fun thing, though, that you can do in World of Darkness VTM, and I will allow in certain cases, is if you don't have actually intimidation under talents, that's supposed to be you could just say something, like, and intimidate someone. But if you have high strength and brawl, I'll allow you to break a door and, like, say something along with it. And if you do it if you get enough successes, then it's going to be impressive either way.
I want someone to, like, accuse Theo of being, like, not a liar, like a liar for, like, tattling on him. He just, like, tears out his own tongue. He's like, take that, motherfucker. Call me a liar again.
Dinah actually has 3 dots of intimidate, and 4 dots of melee. And,
Really?
Yeah, she does.
She's a sassy mama.
Please tell me you have, like, a small knife in your purse, but you're, like, super fucking good with it.
Oh yeah,
She does.
That's exactly it. She has like basically a shiv, and she's fucking amazing with it.
No,
Yeah.
I asked her during character creation when she took melee. I was like, all right, well, what would you say is she would use? Like, having any melee means you're relatively proficient at anything handheld, but like, I always ask, like, what would you have on you? What would be the thing you would use? Would it be a large knife, a switchblade? And she's like, yeah, no, nice purse size.
I used to get into knife fights. She had a wilder side when she was younger.
So you said purse size. Exactly how big is your purse in order to fit a Bowie knife in there?
And when you switch
I don't know,
purses,
it's like
do
it
you
would
have
be like a
size
switchblade,
knives.
so you
Oh,
can fold it.
No, you
and
just need to
first,
have a
like,
big purse so you can have a Bowie knife on you at all times.
that's what I'm saying. When she brings out like the big, huge purse, then she has a bigger knife, right?
That's why I was saying that's how you describe
Yes.
it to that's how you describe it to your storyteller. Purse size. Then you like I take out my knife. All right, about how big is it? You're like, well, my purse is like this.
A duffel
My
bag.
purse
has
is
the
the size of a
same
cello
amount of
case.
dots. She has the same amount of dots in melee as she does in singing. Like they're the same level. So,
She's like, why do you think there are no other singers in this city? I fixed that shit real quick.
no.
She
Really?
was like, you listen, honey, you work for me now.
New Orleans is a tough town.
I'm the number one diva in this game for a minute.
So good.
And like you're good with the knife, so you don't stab to kill. It just hurts a lot.
Yeah, you know. It's
Hitting
fine.
right in the meat.
Why do you think she was so good at staking Theo?
I've done this before. Wink.
I've done this before. Yeah. She just keeps it on the down low because she prefers to talk and like sweet talk her way into things. It's just her
And
style,
here
but
we
she
are.
can.
That all the indignation over how Bjorn handled that warehouse was a lie. It was all a ruse.
We use teeth, not nice, clean little surgical knives. She's like a scalpel. We're like trying to do surgery with a rubber mallet.
Yeah, the guy ends up dead in an alleyway, and you can't really tell because the shivs were just so perfect.
Okay, she has celerity also. But her main thing is presence. She prefers to use presence.
Alright, I'm gonna get back into it if everybody else is.
Well, this is dramatic.
Some dark shit.
I like it.
And here we learned that everyone else
I was
is now
scared
dead.
for a second there.
I guess I'll re-roll as. I don't know.
Is this the right
Just be a
one?
Bruja. Just straight up be a Bruja. They're fun and easy to roll. And easy
Fuck,
and
it's
fun to
just-
play.
Fox just moves to New Orleans. He's like, I hear there's nice suits here.
I love how that's always been the joke, is like when one of your like long-term characters is in trouble, you're like, well, I got this one-shot laying around. They'll move there.
I would love to bring Ike to New Orleans.
Bjorn would murder him.
Maybe I'll keep him away.
Maybe, but probably.
Bjorn's a couple hundred years above Ike. He doesn't stand a chance.
Alright, so Theo and Bjorn, you are heading towards the apartment on Royal Street that belongs to Nigel. As I mentioned, you both know at least a few basic things about this guy. You know, I think it's Theo. You're pretty sure he's actually the child of Antonio, who's kind of the king Tremere outcast in the city. He's definitely someone who's known to cause kind of trouble and even, like, definitely disliked by Tremere outside the city. But you believe Nigel might be his child. The weird thing, though, is that it always seems like Nigel is the sire and Antonio's the child, because their personalities are completely opposite. Nigel is actually quite responsible and intelligent, gathered. Other than that, you only know about the other two Tremere mostly by name. They're not very involved in the city. Nigel, at least, does some work with businesses, you know, very much in Abraham's line of work, has investments to make money by making money.
So I'll walk up. Is it in an apartment building?
He is going to have... it's gonna be a few pairs of those kind of like, more like duplex apartments, and he's gonna be on the second level. So while it is a duplex apartment, it is still a much finer area of the city. The roads are clean, the city's kept up, they have gardening done around there, actual flowers and trees planted to bring up the look of the area, and the apartment is quite large. Very modern looking as well. It looks like it was possibly an old building where the outside was left to its old stone and brick, but the windows have been refitted with newer glass and outfittings. Even just kind of glancing inside, it looks like there's probably more concrete and finer modern furniture than old antique stuff that is otherwise prized around town.
We'll walk up the stairs, and I'll go to knock on the door and stop short. Do you want to do it?
No, by all means, go ahead. You be the one to knock. It'll be less noticeable if you end up missing a hand.
I don't like it, but thank you. He'll knock on the door.
So you knock on the door, and after a few minutes, everything seems fine so far. But you hear someone approach the door and open it. You see Nigel standing in front of you. He's actually about mid-60s, though healthy for that age. He is tall, average build, with short, graying black hair and beard. Really, really light brown eyes, kind of almost remarkable in that way. So relatively attractive for his age. Seems very distinct. Could easily pass for a professor. So he nods at the two of you. The three of you, as I mentioned, know of each other, but certainly not on very close terms. I've never spent even evening out for a drink, but he nods and says, "Welcome. Marcus told me you would be coming along. Please come inside."
Yeah, he said you would buy at least 4 boxes of Girl Scout cookies.
We do have Samoas.
So can I just put you down for that, or
Nigel
some coconutties? I'm not judging if that's your thing.
Nigel raises one eyebrow, stands still, and doesn't really react otherwise.
Serious, though, thank you for meeting with us tonight, despite Theo's unusual habits.
I'll look over at Bjorn. Guess humor's off the table. And I'll step in. I think he invited us in, right?
Yes.
I'll step in looking and if he has a doormat or something, just kind of waiting for something to explode.
There's a small mat to wipe your feet. Otherwise, the inside of the apartment is very much a modernist style, like I mentioned, kind of a lot of concrete and glass. The couch that's in the near living room area is very square, perfectly clean, doesn't look like there's a speck of lint on it. There is a large, brand new TV, probably not more than a few months old. Kitchen looks like it's essentially ready for someone to cook. But of course is also otherwise kept very clean and doesn't look like anyone's really used it in a while, except there is no dust. And otherwise there are some simple abstract paintings, just more splashes of color and shape designs rather than anything you can clearly make out, lining the walls, couple mirrors, and there's a couple hallways that look like they would lead to the bedrooms, possibly other areas. It does feel like it's a large place, and there might even be a study, couple bathrooms.
Theo stop at the doormat, look around this meticulously clean, nice place. You sure you don't want to take a walk, or? I just feel weird. It's a very nice place.
Nigel actually looks confused for a second, then seems to realize what you're referring to and gives you a very calm, friendly smile. "No, Theo, it's alright. Don't worry about it. I have a cleaning person come by regularly, and I don't even spend all that much time here."
Step in slightly nervously, but okay. I mean, you're called it. It's your couch. It's gonna get trashed.
I'll go ahead and, follow suit behind Theo and just kind of idly stroll around the apartment, just kind of looking at his little knickknacks here and there and whatever, and turn to Nigel, just, how much did Marcel exactly fill you in on why we're here tonight?
He only gave me some details. He said he was busy. Of course. Something about a missing person, but a different case of sort. I think he didn't want to explain too much over the phone. Can I get you anything? And he starts heading over to the fridge in the kitchen.
Sure.
I've never been one to say no.
Can I do an awareness check to see if there's any fancy magical things going on here?
I need maybe slightly more detail. Like,
Well, you said he had some knickknacks and things like that. Like anything of value, like from my sort of world,
sure.
holding any magical value, any meaning, reagents, usage, you know?
Sure.
What would you like that to be?
Go ahead and roll perception awareness at 6. And then if you want to, it's a separate roll. You could roll again at 8.
Four and 0.
Alright, so looking around this, it's a very open studio area when you first walk in, as I was starting to explain. So you can see the kitchen, you can see a sitting area, then you can see this very large living room that then has hallways splitting off to probably bedroom, living, bathroom, other areas in the house. It was actually Moni's face. Anyway, but in this very large area, there are some metal bookshelves, and even some hanging shelves that have some unique little trinkets. Theo, you will recognize a couple of these things. Some wooden carved statuettes in particular that are definitely genuine, like an actual voodoo priest or priestess had carved that. The symbols on it are correct. There's even some staining on it that looks like possibly animal blood. But at the same time, you know that these might not actually have any real unique properties. They're just as genuine as they can be for human magic. Nothing really much in this area gives off too much of a vibe, and I'm even gonna say your understanding with your age and everything else is that it isn't surprising he doesn't have anything too powerful out in his living room.
Theo has powerful objects lost under piles of junk, so probably a bad measure for that. But I'm gonna linger on the wooden totems.
I would even say maybe you look down on Tremere for that because you're like, why you gotta hide everything?
But he'll definitely, as Bjorn's talking, interestingly, maybe even pick it up if I don't think it'll diminish its value.
Nigel doesn't seem too bothered with you looking at the items a little closer. You do find a small leather notebook that gives off a stronger vibe of supernatural quality. You can't tell necessarily if it's human magic, mage magic, kindred, Tremere magic, or what, but something definitely sparks your awareness when you pick it up, and the language inside does look like a mix of English and French, but especially the kind of Haitian Creole French that's been a little bit slightly different dialect. So as you continue around the apartment looking at these little trinkets and kind of just getting a feel for the place, Nigel goes to a crisper drawer underneath his fridge and pulls out a unmarked glass bottle, sets it on the counter, and it takes out 3 wine glasses from a nearby cabinet. Again, perfectly clean, obviously crystal even as they shimmer in the lights, and starts pouring a small draft for all 3 of you. As he puts the bottle back, he starts heading in the direction of Theo and Bjorn, handing the glasses out, and begins explaining the property inside. Summarized, it's kindred sommelier blood, so it does have alcoholic tendencies in it, as well as a small stimulant, but nothing illegal.
I'm. So I know my joke fell flat with this guy, but like, does it seem like he doesn't have a sense of humor, or that just wasn't his? Does it seem stuffy, or just like I missed the mark?
Sorry, I'm trying to mess with the music a little. Why not have a roll? So Theo, roll perception, empathy. 6 is fine, just to see if you recognize if he is stuffy, disliked your joke, or what.
Three successes.
Alright, certainly came off as if he might have not got it right away. That, like, he maybe seemed confused for a second, then understood it, but didn't really react because he didn't know you. Maybe he's someone who can be brought to more comfortable conversation over time, but first thing at a door seemed not necessarily even off-putting, just strange to him.
Clearly, he doesn't know Theo that well.
He does not.
As he describes the drink, Theo's gonna like mockingly sniff it with his total lack of nose. Just making like loud, like almost dog sniffing noises.
So,
Or I guess just wind, just.
Nigel watches this almost just kind of in a curious response, but then closes his eyes and takes a small draft of it himself.
And Bjorn, the whole time Theo's doing whatever the fuck Theo's doing, is just going to be sitting there very politely sipping and enjoying. You know, not really paying attention and actually just enjoying the beverage.
He was explaining the notes, like the actual beverage, like like a wine connoisseur. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't hear that wrong. And I'll take a sip of it. Is it better or worse than the Barons?
Let's phrase this as in really good, you know, Tennessee moonshine tastes delicious, but then you also go to someone's house and have their oak barrel cask aged whiskey, and that's delicious, but in very apples and oranges ways. So it's very, very good, but there was something much more rustic and primal about the stuff that the Baron had. This seems curated in, you know, an alchemy lab.
I'll like taste it a few times, like smacking my tongue a bit. I really need to get some of this for the Baron. He would enjoy this as a gift.
Nigel's eyebrow cocks at that, and you see him lean forward as if he wants to immediately start asking questions, but then constrains himself. I would be very much interested to ask you some questions about that sometime, Theo, but you came here looking for answers yourselves. I told the prince I would do what I could to help, so please, what exactly is it that I can help you with?
Do you know who the... And he'll actually pause, considering that maybe this is the one time calling them technophiles won't work. The technocrats, technocracies. Have you heard of that term before?
Nigel nods his head kind of solemnly. Yes, I know about their presence in the city, at least as much as the prince, if not possibly a little bit more.
They may be after a friend of ours who's also inclined with the same abilities, but not a part of them. She's and he's gonna like rack his head real hard trying to think of like what she said about what kind of mage she was. Some sort of experience points magician, I don't know.
So Nigel takes a seat in a bar stool at the end of his kitchen island. He kind of puts his arms out, folds his hands, and listens as Theo tries to explain this. His eyes wander as he tries to put together this information. What did you call them again?
I didn't. She's a dear friend, and I've grown quite fond of her, and now she's missing.
But she's not with these technocracy mages.
No, she's some other... I don't know, like a bruja, but for mages. She's crazy and does crazy shit, which of course means I love her.
Nigel slowly gets up and says, "Give me one moment." And he disappears down a hallway. You hear a door open. There's even a very strange, somewhat unnatural sound that accompanies it. And the door closes again. You hear nothing else after that. It seems like the strangest amount of silence for someone who's walking only a few yards away from where you're sitting. The door opens again with a similar sound, closes, and he comes back with a large leather-bound notebook with tons of tags and like ribbons and things through it. So he opens this up, starts flipping through, and is quietly taking in his notes as he takes another sip of his wine.
I imagine the whole time that he was, or when he walked into the back room and, the noise kind of like disappeared, I can just imagine Theo and Bjorn, we sat there sipping our wine, looked at each other, shrugged for a moment, went back and kept sipping our wine.
Yeah, that sounds about
Just
right.
the unspoken, what the fuck, Tremere?
Yeah, that, and you're probably the only person that Theo's ever quiet around anyway. Unless other people are around. He doesn't want anyone to know he has that ability.
It's a secret that I shall take to my grave. Or my second grave.
To final death. So after a little bit of reading, and Nigel similarly just comfortable being silent around people, not really apologizing for it.
Did you say he was taking notes or just looking through notes?
I said taking in, so he's going through, like you can see him like kind of cross-referencing a couple things. If I understand what you're trying to say about this friend of yours, it seems like she might be a cult of ecstasy mage. They're the ones that will be found at parties, drugs, alcohol, that sort of thing. But it's all a part of their actual...
Yeah, like a bruja.
Yes. There's a decent amount of them in this city, or at least once you pass through, this being New Orleans, of course. And he kind of closes the notebook with a loud thump. You believe she's been taken by some of the technocracy mages?
She's running from someone. She kind of left with her cat without telling anyone, and I don't know where to go from here, honestly. I'm worried it might be them. There's also, I got her maybe involved in vampire things. The prince knows. All above table.
Yes, it is quite interesting to hear that you've come to me looking for information about a mage. I, myself, the prince, maybe a couple other people around the city, or the few kindred who even know that these exist, or even a lick about them. But, why exactly was she involved with kindred matters?
How much do you know about me, my reputation, maybe, especially before Marcel?
From what I've heard is that you have been in New Orleans nearly as long as it's been New Orleans, that you care very deeply for the more unfortunate members of your
Maybe
domain.
more about how I act in, I don't know, public, say, looking like this.
Well, you haven't surprised me from your reputation, but actually I find you far better company than some people have led on.
If I could blush, I would. Thank you, but I may or may not like running around on Mardi Gras, less covered up than normal, keeping to the shadows, and met a small girl many years ago, gave her gifts like I like giving all the children of the city, helped her find her mother. She found me years later, and oh shit, she's magic. Now we're best friends, and we frolic through the vampire woods together. Also, I met her like last week.
You guys have known each other longer than that, but...
To Theo, it's like last week.
Oh, okay.
Basically, he's highlighting the fact that they're deeper than the length of time they've known each other should really.
Nigel sits listening to all of this, eyes a little wide, but just as in someone who's really taking in details of a lecture, almost. He's very fascinated by this factor, and not for a lack of empathy, but doesn't want to butt in with anything he doesn't need to. Well, that answers that question. I can certainly give you the information I have about mages in the city, but I'm still not exactly sure what you're hoping I can help with.
So let me just cut to the chase, and I apologize if my vocabulary is a little bit limited to whatever terms you typically use. Can you magic a way to find her?
Nigel genuinely smiles at that, totally enjoying that joke. Can I magic a way to find her? It is quite possible.
I don't know what exactly the limits or the anything it is that you and your clan does, but that's the quickest and easiest way to sum it up.
The prince thought you would be a really useful person to talk to, and we would really appreciate any help we could get right now.
Talk amongst yourselves for like 2 seconds. Stupid Tremere and their goddamn pages of bullshit.
So, Modi, do you think if I start dragging my ass along the carpet like a dog, that would be a faux pas?
I think it might be expected. So I'm really mad at myself. So when Nigel was like, and you're actually better behaved than I had been led on with, I thought of it too late to interject, but I really wish I had stepped in and said, oh, he's only on his best behavior because he's scared you'll fireball him or, explode his head or something. Magic his head to 1,000 pieces.
I was just gonna say Nigel still would have laughed at that too.
Now Theo's mad. You're making him laugh, and Theo's not. Theo's like, what the fuck? He's getting like
Theo,
genuinely
Theo,
frustrated.
You made him laugh.
I almost said Modi. Bjorn did.
You did too.
I don't remember, but sure. I just don't like. I don't know. Maybe here. Okay, long-term plan for Theo with this guy. This doesn't normally talk to Tremere. Can you magic me magical, amazing Mardi Gras fireworks that like spit candy necklaces when they explode, but they taste really good?
And also LSD.
Oh, the whole like LSD thing.
Didn't we just stop a guy from doing that?
Yeah, and I'm still conflicted about it, okay?
Oh, but he was using a bad product.
It was
Specifically.
psycho LSD, not fun, happy, fun times LSD.
It was bad physical side effects LSD. You don't want to use the stuff he used. He used that on for a reason. So after the much more straightforward question from Bjorn about can you magic us up a way to find her, Nigel thinks for a second. He has his fingers interlocked, sitting on the desk, and he kind of taps his thumbs together. The simplest, probably first option would require I have something of hers. That said, I will mention it's not a perfect ritual, but it is the best thing to try first.
I don't think I have anything of hers.
You don't have. Just at her.
What? I might be a walking pair of cargo pants, but I didn't like squirrel away a locket of her hair.
I don't know what your hoodoo does.
It's the
I
voodoo
imagine
that-
you have a locket of all of our hair for your witchcraft.
It's the voodoo you do that we don't dare do, people.
I think Abe. Who does have her phone?
Jake kept it.
So we don't think we do have.
I'll text Jake and ask if he can bring the phone. Well, I'll first ask. Can I invite guests? It's your place. I don't want to put the address everywhere. Do you know Jake?
You barely see his eyebrows kind of twitch. He says, "Name sounds vaguely familiar. Can you who is he affiliated with?"
I'll let him know. The prince assigned him as a bodyguard.
He's also close to Dutch.
Who's close? Yeah, he's close to Josh.
Dutch.
Dutch. That's what I meant to say. I said Josh. I meant Dutch. Dutch and him go way back. Dutch is doing the physical part of this hunt. We're doing the magical.
Oh, of course, that's why I heard the name before.
If not, it's fine. I can go meet him outside and pick it up. I can get her cell phone, though. Is that good?
Yes, that should be perfectly fine. Actually, that would be best. Probably the last thing she touched. Why does this person have her cell phone and not her?
She left it behind. She took her cat and nothing else.
Fleeing the scene, it sounds like?
Seems like it. I don't know. She'd probably sell me up the river for that cat, honestly.
I don't know. Maybe she thought she could be tracked through the cell phone. You see it in, I don't know, the television they have these days. They can do really weird things with phones.
Then she hasn't met Dutch because he's about to track her by that cat.
No offense to this Jake, and especially Dutch. He's a fine fellow. But yes, if you could perhaps meet them in the parking lot and return up here. I don't count this as my permanent haven, but it's still something I like to keep more private, if I can.
Well, I appreciate you leaving us with it. That's why I asked. I'll text him and meet him across the street at some store or something.
You go ahead and text Jake explaining that you need to meet him and you need Rebecca's cell phone. He does text back pretty quickly and asks where to meet. You give him the detail of a nearby, RX that's just down the road, and make your way walking over there. Nigel sees you out very cordially, and even takes both your glasses and leaves them at the end of the counter, basically for you to have them when you return. And he closes the door behind you. This one doesn't make a weird noise.
I'll look at Bjorn after we get a few steps away. Not gonna lie, Bjorn, I really wanted to hate him, but I think I like him a little bit.
I'm confused. Why is he an outcast again? He, as you said, he was wonderfully pleasant.
Maybe he's too fucking cool, like us, yo.
Don't do that ever again. Just don't.
All right, I'll give it like 100 years for you to forget.
Maybe by then it'll be retro enough for it to be cool again.
100 years later, he calls Bjorn. Wazza!
What's
I broke the gangrel.
No, that's just such a good.
It's perfect for Theo, though.
It makes sense.
No, I'm just so sad that it's not like, the 2050s or something, so you can just pick up the phone and drop the most ridiculous just. Anyways. But yeah, so I guess we'll make our way over to the
Corner store.
pharmacy.
Is the street really quiet?
Yes, this area, as I mentioned, is a finer area of the city, kind of older buildings, richer people. So, while there's more like cafe bars, there aren't the rowdy nightclubs and things that'll be in other sections of the city. So it stays pretty quiet around here.
Can I slink around enough without mask? Or it's not like a dead road, there's people out and about.
There's enough still like cabs and stuff going by that I would say if you use Obfuscate 2 and hang by the shadows, you're fine. Like Bjorn will still know you're there if you don't want to have to do mask, but it's not safe to necessarily walk out with zombie makeup on a Monday night a good month plus outside of Mardi Gras.
I could just be a weirdo.
Yes, but you
This
can
isn't
draw
New York.
attention. People will
Yeah.
walk up and be like, I want to like take
All
a
right, let's mask, I forget.
This is the trouble with VTM being made in the late 90s and getting further and further into... Because I've seen special effects makeup, I'd see someone walking down the road and be like, cool, keep walking.
Yeah, it's current day. Why not?
I know.
Especially zombie makeup.
I gotta have some limitations on this. It's your weakness.
He likes to party. He likes to party.
It's your weakness. It's gotta do something.
I'm going to a frat party. It's a college theme thing. Theo's totes young enough for that, dog.
Do you want to use mask or Obfuscate 2?
Just mask.
Okay. Roll it for me.
What's mask? That's what I'm saying.
Manipulation performance.
What one would, manipulation performance?
Yeah. Difficulty 7.
4 successes. Oh.
2 successes. So, that's enough for you to do Old Theo. Which is all you ever really want to do anyway, so.
Yep.
So, Theo, in his average looking appearance from before he died, walks down the street with Bjorn towards a local convenience store. Standing outside, waiting for Jake, he eventually pulls in and, much like you've now seen him do a couple times, almost speeding, definitely makes the left turn into the parking lot a little too sharp. Is that so? And then parks a little haphazardly. He already saw the two of you, so he gets out and starts walking your direction.
When he approaches, I'll just have my hand out and just be like, can I get Rebecca's phone?
Please, God, Bjorn, where are your manners? I let you turn into a dog for one night. Now we're back to house training.
Jake doesn't seem too bothered with the immediate response, because that's kind of how he handles everything. So he pulls the small cell phone out of a inside pocket of his jacket and hands it over to Bjorn. You guys got a lead yet?
Hopefully in a few moments. And with that, I'll just start walking away from Jake, going in the opposite direction of the dude's apartment.
I'll hang out for a second. I'll let him know that the fucking banana boat. What was his name? The guy, not Jake.
Nigel?
No. The Brewhob
Dutch?
guy. Dutch. Yeah, there we go. I'll write that down.
Banana boat?
Yeah, banana boat. It's fine.
I've been with this guy almost 10 years. I can understand his nonsense 99.9% of the time, but I have no idea what banana boat meant.
Dutch. I'll be like, yeah, Dutch. He's out tracking her out. Hopefully, physically, we figured we'll attack it from another point of view and try some sort of, I don't know, other shit with phone and Nazis and tracking her through technology. Who the hell knows nowadays? I'm like, I've got the phone here. How is that going to help you? Try, and they're like, shut up, you're an idiot. And I'm like, dude, I'm totally cowabunga. Then they kicked me out, so I had to meet you here. And then I'll just turn around and start walking after Bjorn.
Jake, if you can, like, see him from your peripheral as you start walking away, looks totally dumbfounded. Stands there for a second, puts his hands in his jean pockets, and then just turns back to his car.
And once I've kind of walked away, I'll keep an eye on him and make sure that he's actually driven away. And once he does, I'll turn around and actually walk back towards Nigel's apartment.
Hey, so unless you guys have anything specific you want to talk about before reaching him, you head back to Nigel's apartment, up the stairs, knock on the door. Again, he opens it. Apartment looks exactly the same as before, just the leather notebook on the counter next to his glass of wine, and the two that you guys didn't fully finish waiting for you as you return. Nigel just turns back and returns to the seat he was sitting at and nods at the two of you. Did you get something?
I'll hold out the phone towards him. Hopefully this is good enough.
He grabs a napkin from the side of the counter and puts it in his palm for you to set it down, and then takes it, looks it over, and actually, since I'm actually playing these people, you two can talk amongst yourselves about in character or out of character.
Yeah.
Theo will just be sipping on wine blood.
Hi.
What do you call wine blood?
Blood wine.
Oh, that sounds so... Hot
Klingon?
topic.
Klingon? I know.
Hot topic.
See, I almost said Hawaiian punch, but we're not saying Hawaii.
I'm just saying, like, you gotta remember, Bodhi, this is like late 90s, 2000s. That's so hot topic.
Okay, let me focus my inner 90s. Cowabunga juice. There we go.
Kool-Aid?
Late 90s goth? You can do way better than that. That's surfer.
I wasn't a goth ever, let alone in the 90s.
Me either.
Well, I mean, that's why these people wrote these books and called it Vitae.
Oh yeah, no, this is totally like a 90s. I'm not cool.
This is
but,
this is a 90s goth book. Yeah, all of
yeah,
this.
like it.
So totally 90s
Dark
goth
essence.
book. Mhm.
Yeah, this is like a 90s, you know.
Crimson
Yeah, no,
Icon.
it was the counterculture back then. Yeah.
Yeah, because D&D
Like
was
the
getting big, and they're
counterculture.
like, we want our cool game with vampires, blood, and dark essence,
Crimson
And
Icon.
blood. and
Oh.
blood. Did I mention the blood?
Right?
Why did you have to bring that up? Because now I'm never going to be able to hear Vitae correctly. It's Vitae. AE
Fire.
in Latin makes an E sound, a long E.
But
But
no,
doesn't
but
sound
it's
as
not.
cool.
But it's not the combined letter.
Because you don't want to walk up to someone and have it rhyme and say, "I'm gonna bitey for your bitey."
No, Latin. If it's
The
not,
bitey bites.
it's not the combined letter. In Latin, AE is A.
E.
Vitae. I took Latin, motherfucker. Fight me.
And it would be whitey. Whitey.
Yeah, AE is A, at least in like choir Latin.
Okay.
pronunciation.
Either way, it's pronounced vitae in VTM. So, like, also, like, they mispronounce a bunch of things wrong. So, like, I'm just going by the game. Maybe the Kindred know better than you do, because they're older than you are. Anyway.
They're made up. Like, never mind.
So Nigel has the phone in hand. You see him stare at it with a bit of intensity that I'll even say you guys recognize as system-wise someone using their preternatural perception for supernatural things, just looking it over, trying to get that essence off of it, and nods. Definitely a mage. I will need a short amount of time to prepare this ritual.
Sure. Just hand us the rest of the bottle of this and we'll get out of your hair. He's clearly joking. Hopefully he picks up on social cues.
That he did get, but at the same time, he does still go to the crisper, grab the bottle, and very generously tops you off. Not like this much blood, but like, you know, if you were here, he like gives you a little more, like a very typical kind of red wine pour, just like tops you guys off, puts the wine back.
I was joking, but I'm not going to say no. How kind of you.
Not a problem. Just give me a moment. And he disappears again to the quiet, spooky door. I think right now we'll take one more little break, and then we'll check back in with Dinah and Luther. So, again, we're just going to take a couple minutes of a break. Everybody in the chat, if you have any questions for us, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, we're just going to chat for a couple minutes. I take these sometimes when I need to kind of regroup, since I like to not take too long of pauses while doing a live game.
So I'm curious about what Dinah's, obviously above table, but like what Dinah thinks is going on, because Theo knows that the prince can be lenient, not with masquerade breaks, but lenient to what he would call a masquerade break. So the fact that he said to Theo she broke the masquerade, potentially evidence is mounting. He's like, shit, what actually happened?
Just real quick before you two talk, I do want to add something I mentioned a long time ago, so sometimes that gets forgotten. New Orleans is known as like a refuge city for Kindred. A lot of Kindred who Marcel is more accommodating to, that other cities are like they want them for something, they're allowed to like at least stop there for a time.
Yeah, well, Theo doesn't know about the video and all that stuff that above the table I know about, but I'm like, as a player, I'm getting so much more specific. I was like, watch this be some technocracy, bitch, I swear.
I mean, Dinah already, like, the prince called court for her because of a potential masquerade breach. Like, she already knows. But she does not think that she did it, but she does not know what to really look into to prove otherwise yet. So she's really just still looking for Rebecca, and then they're now going to basically return her and have where they're supposed to go, but they're going to try and help her and be like, I don't think she did this, but let's figure out who did. Because that's the bigger problem. Someone who can manufacture this and we don't know who it was, that's bad.
Or we're all being played.
Probably. That also might be the case. And if so, you need to uncover that as well.
Yeah, I really don't know what to make of it. That's what I was asking.
Oh, the thing that Dinah was gonna say earlier and that didn't want to in front of her was that, wait, didn't Luther like tell the prince where these two technocracy guys lived and nothing's been done about them? No eye has been kept on them, nothing. They tried to take Rebecca, but nobody was watching them. They knew where they lived now and nothing's been done.
I think that might just be not being looped in by Spira, because I know she did say that they were sending people to keep an eye on, but we never followed up with the prince about has there been movement?
Yes.
Which is probably a question we should have asked when we saw the prince.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
mean, I haven't seen the prince yet.
Well, I mean, you guys are going back to see the prince soon.
Yes,
so
exactly.
That's probably a good.
Yeah, that's the question I'm gonna ask. Yeah.
That's one of the other things that I really enjoy about playing Theo is I don't take notes and I don't care to, because Theo isn't on top of these things ever.
I don't take notes, but it's because I forget to. Elvish is Elvish forgets to. That's I should take notes.
Well, back to what you were saying earlier about I'm sorry. I've been meeting so many new people lately. So many different names. I can't even keep track. Your New York character.
Kim.
Yeah, Maria was stuck in my head, and I have no idea why. I knew Maria was wrong, but for Kim, same thing. Like that's why I made Theo. I was like, I want this to be a more chill, relaxed game where I didn't have to be like 100% uptight like Ike. I was like, screw it. I'm gonna build being forgetful right into it.
Basically. Kim I made to be interesting though. I basically just wanted to play Malkavian that wasn't like balls to the wall.
Lol, random.
Fuck it. Lol, random. Random equals good, right? That's funny.
I always try to explain it to people, like, even when you meet someone who gets immediately, like, oh, it isn't supposed to just be, like, crazy. I'm like, the best part to think about is the fact that mental health is detrimental. This is a weakness. They're the same thing systematically and story-wise. So your derangement is supposed to be the same as a Ventru can only feed from one person. A La Sombra doesn't have reflection, so they have to worry about that all the time. Your mental illness, disorder, whatever it is supposed to affect you in one way or another. You can pick something easy that doesn't affect you a lot. You could even pick something that's so hard to, like, roleplay, it's, like, crazy hard. And, of course, I always recommend something in the middle that's gonna develop your character, be hard to deal with, but you can get through the night.
Yeah, I also don't like that a lot of Malkavian, the whole mental illness thing is played up for laughs a lot, and it should not be. It's anxiety, like a real problem that a lot of people face, and I wanted to kind of do that more justice.
No, exactly.
Okay, it's totally that lull bipolar, so random, and you're like, that's not at all what any of that is.
I think I'm the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. Tee-hee. No.
Talking about this very seriously, I think every person who ever makes that character doesn't even necessarily like want to try the very serious ones, because maybe even just intimidated, scared of doing it wrong, so they go with schizophrenia. And even if they're not being the lull random I'm so funny character, but they're like, they think they're just supposed to be crazy all the time, don't understand exactly how schizophrenia works, and the fact that it's even a term for a large breadth of problems. So schizophrenia it sounds like the easy one to pick, and then if you know about schizophrenia, it's actually probably the hardest thing to play. So when someone takes something that's much more like kleptomania or bulimia, which actually in Vampire the Masquerade they made a specific version where it is where you actually feed too much and then throw it up. So yeah, or actually you could do a human version where like you want to eat food and maybe you eat food the merit, but then of course you have to throw it up later. So you could do 2 different versions of that. But like I recommend, especially when someone wants to play Malkavian the first time, taking something that isn't schizophrenia, because I think schizophrenia is actually the hardest to do right. And I know about it, not at a professional level, but I've read enough about it. I'm a huge abnormal psychology. I have a huge interest in abnormal psychology, so I've read a lot about it. And like, if someone just wants to play schizophrenia and all they're going to do is I hear voices and see things, it's not what it is at base.
I would say it's probably a good rule. If you've ever heard someone say, "Oh my God, I'm so X," don't use that disorder, because it's obviously been popularized wrong and people don't understand and that's where it goes wrong a lot with people playing it, is they don't understand the personal devastation that comes with these illnesses.
Exactly.
And it's hard to play.
Paranoia and just weird things that don't quite make sense to anyone else, but it's not funny. Like, yeah.
But I do want to say I'm not judging anyone either, because like, it's hard to know the dark side unless you either know someone with it, have experienced it yourself. Like, that's they're trying. I don't think most of these people mean harm.
No.
It turns into that cliche sort of, "Oh my God, I'm so random," or "Oh my God, I'm so ADD, I forgot to lock my car."
Yeah.
I sooner put it as they just don't understand. And as a reference, I did in a game, I wasn't in it very long, but I did a Malkavian with the overfeeding bulimia thing. They drank too much blood, so then they'd have to actually go throw it up because they couldn't hold it in their blood pool. And my character was super ashamed of it, and it was usually I made it so it was a problem during most feedings, and I rolled self-control anytime I had to feed. So if she passed, good, she just feeds the amount she needs to and she's done. If she doesn't, she was very young. She was very, very young. So she was already like trying to find people she could trust to be around her when she fed, to pull her off if she needed to. So it's supposed to be something horrible and detrimental, not
And like, I don't want to sound pretentious either. Like, because like, far be if you're not running a serious VTA game, like you're just running a one shot where you just make a bunch of ridiculous characters. Do that. Have fun. Like, it's fine. You don't have to take everything seriously all the time.
I see a little yellow man that follows me everywhere and tells me weird things to do. That can be fun. Why not?
Yeah, you just want to balance it back out because you see too much of the other way sometimes.
And we do generally the darker, more serious side. Even though we generally manage to keep it PG-13, which is a miracle. I don't know how we do that.
Well,
we drop way too many fucks for this PG-13. Let me just...
Yeah, we say fuck a lot, but like that's about it.
No, but we like compared to the normal Twitch stream, we don't even say fuck that. We don't even curse that much compared to your regular, everyday Twitch stream. We don't even curse that much.
All right,
that's because our characters don't curse as much. I certainly do. Dinah doesn't really curse. Kim
I talk like a sailor. What are you talking about?
That's true. Not in character, though.
I have admitted that I'm a little shy on live stream games to be as dark with World of Darkness as I might be in certain situations. Not saying, like, I don't know. Just, I am a little bit. I don't know why. Just sometimes. But you know what? I'll make a promise now that when, not if, when I play a Sabbat game, that'll go out the window. Camarilla, like their humanity. We played mostly neonates before this game. It actually did make sense that you guys weren't going too far down the road of some super horrible stuff. There's been death, there's been people having sexual issues, things like that.
We ended it pretty dark. New York was taking a very dark turn.
Oh, of course, and I didn't want to throw you guys under the bus with some dark themes. I actually like that it built there, and I think this one's at a even balance of you guys already have like domains and things. There's that feeling of like you're not necessarily in the depth of it because like you've also found how to balance and be away from what you don't want to be involved with. So I think it's okay. New York's probably going to continue getting a little funky because you guys are neonates diving into a very nasty situation. But definitely if we do Sabbat, I have to like fucking go a little hardcore. So when we get that game going, you guys can all enjoy being embarrassed by all the shit I bring up.
I will take that challenge.
I said this before also, like, in a private chat with my PCs, that I said that to basically everybody, and Zabani was like, pfft. I was like, yeah, no, Zabani, I'm not counting you. You don't count. Anyway, alright, let's get back to it. So, Dinah and Luther, you are in the car with Morgaine. You've just got this information from Gregory, the bartender at that club where the two freakazoids showed up earlier. You don't have any other specific leads, but you do have Morgaine in the car, and she's supposed to be going to court. Now, not trying to lead you either way. You can decide to go to look into something else that you know of. Meet up with you and Bjorn if you want to. Let me know what you're thinking. Luther, as I explained last game, court is important, but she's not gonna, like, have a blood hunt sent out on her because she doesn't show up when the prince asked immediately.
Yeah, I think he was thinking more like it's time to go. Like we might want to go see the prince now, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I got a question or two for him myself, so.
Do you express this out loud?
Well, yeah, we talked about it when after this we might want to go see the prince. So yeah, you would express that out loud. Do you want us to role play it? Is that what you're asking?
Only because you sounded like your voice, and I was like, if you didn't say that and you started driving that way, like, Morgaine might react differently than if you say it.
No, okay. All right. So when we get back to the car, well, Morgaine, I think we might have delayed this a little bit longer than we anticipated. How do you feel about maybe going and seeing the prince?
Morgaine sitting in the back seat with, you and Dinah in the front too, and she lets her head drop and sighs. No, I think we gotta just go deal with this. I'm hoping whoever fucking set this shit up is, not as smart as the rest of us to figure out how I'm not actually involved, but you see her, like, leg shaking a little bit and, like, twitchy energy, and she just, no, let's go. I've known Marcel a long time. He knows I wouldn't do fucking shit like this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we'll be there with you as well, so you don't have to be alone in this.
Okay.
Yes,
And she's like still just kind of like just twitching her one leg.
Whatever happens, just remember, Dinah and I are here for you. You don't nothing. We're on your side.
Yeah, I thank you so much for this.
Of course, and let's get on.
All right.
He'll do a nice casual drive. No, he's not trying to do nice and fast. He's not trying
I
to
was about to ask if you wanted to roll, but I like that you're like, no, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Nice, casual, slow kind of stroll so she can kind of gather herself up.
Perfect. All right, so Luther, you ignore all of that in the background.
I ignore it successfully.
Alright, so you head over to Marcel's plantation mansion, his haven where he asks for court to typically be held. You arrive, and very just downtime, same as usual. Valet takes your car, you're walked in by a butler, they leave you in the foyer for a moment until Marcel is ready, apparently. Then you walk back into the same room you've been before, where there is a couple chairs with, like, a love seat in between, facing away from a fireplace, and a much longer chaise lounge kind of couch with a couple extra chairs for people to sit and face Marcel, if not anybody else who he invites to court on his side of the jury. But unlike most cases where at least Karen is there, it is in fact this time only Marcel sitting in one of the chairs, and he waves for Luther, Morgaine, and Dinah to sit. As you move into the room, he does casually remark, "I didn't realize you had a jury with you." Morgaine half laughs, half looks nervous, but says, "You know us deviants, we stick together." As a reminder for you guys, that's actually a fun derogatory nickname for Toreadors. She's using it ironically.
Sounds right.
She just asked us for more of a character witness, I guess you would say.
Marcel raises his hands in a motion of course, puts his hands back down over his knees. "Now, Morgaine, can you please, first off, give me your side of the events that night?" And again to downtime, since she's already explained this to Luther and Dinah. She explains that she was out at this one human-centric club, just drinking a little bit from humans here or there, a lot of dancing. She even asked Luther if he can pull up his phone to show the pictures from that time frame, because she had sent them like actual selfies like at the time, and then explains that afterwards she had left with a human, went to a motel, drank from them more, and found herself. She pauses for a long time, but then admits truthfully things felt a little fuzzy after that. She doesn't really remember too much before she woke up in her own haven the next night. But then she starts trying to ramble a little bit about, I was texting my friends, and they're like, I was apparently texting them at other clubs. Like, I have to get like their cell phones or get them to send me screenshots. Like, I certainly wasn't at this place at this time. That's crazy. And the prince, after letting her go for a little while, slowly puts up a hand for her to quiet. She takes his response and leans back, looking just a little shaken, but still kind of strong-shouldered.
Does he look like he's gathering thoughts, or are you waiting for dogs to stop running? Okay.
Puppies.
Yeah, he mainly put up the hand because she started kind of rambling. He got the fact that she was like, no, but like other people asked me, like what I was up to and things like that. But she wasn't giving much more pertinent information, so he just like stopped her. But he does actually look to the two of you as her character witnesses to see if you have anything to say about that night or to add to what she's already saying.
Marcel, it's true, and he'll pull up. She was texting and send photos. It doesn't look like she was exactly in the mood to go breaking the masquerade or stealing the art. And it seems completely out of character that she would even be doing something like this. I can't exactly see her in a normal state doing something like this.
Of course, Luther, I agree. But she's just now admitted she was not in a normal state. And if she was already perceptible to influence, perhaps she could have been brought into a situation she, as she says, does not remember. Let me just show you something. At that, he clicks his fingers, and the doors to the private chamber open with a pair of basically butlers, servants, attendees, roll in a small table with a flat screen television connected to what looks like a very like this small kind of desktop computers and a little like hard drive connected to it. They move in, they just quietly, and Marcel, silent the whole time, set everything up, plug everything in, and, after just a few moments of a couple button clicks here and there, a video feed begins playing. Luther, Dinah, Morgaine, and of course, Marcel, though he's already seen it, you get to see what already looks like an edited bit of video feed because it jumps from room to room that appears to be Morgaine in the clothes that Luther and Dinah have seen in the pictures she sent, moving quietly through a bit of the local gallery where those pictures were taken from. And during this whole feed, while most of it looked like quiet movement and she had like a hood up from like a hoodie she was wearing, at a certain point a guard does stop her and even seems to like reach for a nightstick. No gun on him, but he reaches like for what he has to stop an intruder. Then suddenly he stops in a way that looks very much like a discipline being used, and she like kind of just waves a hand. The man turns around, and as the rest of the feed continues from a couple different rooms, it seems like the man is zombishly following her orders, and then eventually he leads her to a room, unlocks it, gives her 2 paintings that are covered by canvas. Like you don't actually see what the paintings are. She picks them up. She tells the man to sit. He basically just sits down on that floor, and she escapes. When the video stops, Marcel very casually just explains, we can see her leaving, but not necessarily important. Nothing else was important past this. Morgaine, sitting next to you, looks completely horrified, devastated, can't believe like what she's watching.
Marcel, that does not look like presence, though. That looks like dominate to me.
Dinah? One second. Perception, empathy, 5.
Okay.
Can I rewatch the video and see if it seems?
Oh yeah, if you ask Marcel, he'll tell the servants to like. Do you want it all the way from the beginning or like just back a bit?
All the way from the beginning, and if he could study the video and see if it seems like it's the same, like, if it's the same kind of mannerism she has, or if it's the same way that she walks, if it seems like it could be somebody else pretending to be her. All
right. Luther, so you asked Marcel, can you go back to like the beginning of the video and let it play again? He nods. It's still playing at a somewhat fast pace because otherwise it would take some 20-30 minutes to play, but so it's like, shortened. But you let it, it starts playing again. Let's go with perception, empathy, and
Wait.
No, let's go with 7. But I might, like, personally sort of up what you get a touch. But go ahead and roll that.
Successes.
Dinah, what was you rolled again for?
You told me to roll. I said that looks like dominate to me.
Right.
Perception.
And it was perception empathy. Morgaine, with your perception empathy, looks very uncomfortable when you mention that. A little twitchy, like someone who had something discovered about themselves. These are elder vampires. They don't have the limitations that neonates necessarily have. Sure. So you say that, Morgaine says nothing, nobody else says anything. She just sits there.
Do you practice that discipline? Okay.
I do have some ability with it, but I mean, whoever this is, she waves at the video as Luther's still watching it. It's definitely more command than I have of it. I can do the whole thing where you like ask someone to sit down or whatever. You know what I mean?
No, honey, it's all right. I still don't think that this was you that did this. You've lived here for a long time. I'm just trying to clarify some things. If that could have exonerated you, it would have been a good point to bring up.
Alright, Luther, that was your roll for empathy?
Yeah, 3 successes.
Alright, give me a second. Alright, as you study the video further, knowing Morgaine at least as well as you do, her personality, the way she presents herself, the way she even conducts herself in Elysium, like full open kindred territory, doesn't need to worry about like who's looking at her, who's saying what she's doing, as well as in human territories. You two have gone to human clubs before, where like she has to actually be very careful and not, be too boisterous and show off anything. You both do. You have to be careful in the situations. This figure in the video, as you watch it, does seem, in your somewhat limited experience on stealth, you're not a very stealthy person yourself, but like, just your kind of understanding of that aspect and Morgaine, the person is doing an almost professional job for the most part of sticking along to the walls, following shadows, things that seem very akin to someone who's very versed with obfuscate, and at least you are pretty sure Morgaine has even drunkenly kind of ranted about, like, I know how to do, like, the like, stay quiet and still thing, but not the, like, the whole, like, movement around and nobody sees you. So, you're pretty sure Morgaine couldn't have really pulled off a good heist, as well as this person seems to be doing it.
He'll kind of just nod as he's looking at it, as he's studying. Also, Spirit, if you could remind me, these paintings weren't the ones that we heard about earlier sessions, right? These are
You're not
different.
sure.
Oh, okay.
There are some paintings missing that Joshua's speaking out about. Joshua. I feel like I should just call him Joshua because I hate that name.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joshua is missing a couple paintings. There are a
Luther
couple
also
weird
is.
paintings that just got stolen by possibly a kindred. You can't 100% tie them together, but it very much makes sense. Or it has that wisp of likelihood.
Now, Marcel, do we know where this is taken at? Do we? Do we know whose painting this is?
I don't know what paintings were stolen specifically. I've been trying to get in contact with the curator, but he's been quite busy, apparently. Uh, I think he's speaking with the police to try and get this solved, but of course we've already wiped their video feed, so he doesn't have much to go on, and I'm hesitant to continue speaking with him in any sense that might lead him to more suspicion. As you know, I don't necessarily like removing or fixing too many memories if it's possible.
Of course. But, okay, and I forget if I asked, but does she still have the painting? Did I ask her that last game or no? After she stole it, did she wake up with it in her apartment?
Oh yeah, no, you did ask, and Morgaine said like she actually, like, when she heard about that, she did panic a little, thinking either she was used or did get that drunk and like someone like dared her to, and she like tore apart her apartment. She couldn't find anything or like even any sign that she did anything other than come home and pass out in her clothes. She's actually still wearing the clothes she wore the other night. And the other thing I was gonna say was that, so you did ask her about that fact. And then also I was gonna add that Morgaine sitting next to you after watching the video, now twice, as you wanted to watch it a second time, just still looks like kind of dumbfounded. She seems not to know what to say, because as she's expressed to you already, she's almost feeling like either she had to be under something, or it's some kind of faked video.
Can I do in D&D we call it an insight check? Can I do a check to see if these are like true feelings or if she's trying to bluff us?
Oh, sure, no, that would be empathy, so perception, empathy, and 6 is fine.
Oh yeah, can I auspex?
Her aura?
I'm actually gonna auspex Marcel.
Can I get 8 successes on that?
Sure, why
Oh, hot damn! Hell yeah, Luther.
not? Alright, but for Dinah, perception, empathy at 7. Luther, looking at Morgaine, she definitely has no idea what's going on. She's so freaked out. Watching herself do something she essentially can't remember, and as far as she's expressed to you already, she wouldn't. Like, so it's really weird to her. But she's staying quiet, almost essentially because the prince is sitting there and she just doesn't want to, like, put her foot in her mouth. Okay.
Got 3 successes, but I got 2 ones, so 1.
You see this pale, almost brown color, just like a low fog kind of around his body, shifting slightly, and you know that this tone tends to refer to someone feeling bitter, and you can almost interpret it as if like he hates to have to be doing this. You can even like see that he doesn't necessarily think she did this, but he has evidence. He has to get to the root of the cause, figure it out. You can even maybe see like a tiny bit of pink, like a little flicker that's like there's some compassion. He's just like, he doesn't really think Morgaine needs to be punished for this, because it does seem like something strange going on. But also, you being even your age, you know that kindred do fucking weird bullshit, and sometimes without you knowing, you feel like you could have known them for decades, that they would never do something and they did. So he's very conflicted and just trying to be the prince of the city and do what he can to get this resolved.
Okay.
now, Marcel, I'm not sure if you know this, but your boy Joshua, he had some paintings go missing a little bit here. Do you know anything about that?
I'd heard some complaints about it, but of course it seemed like a personal matter and not something involving kindred society or the tradition, so I didn't take it under my wing. He didn't even ask me specifically. I heard it from Karen.
All right, well, hear me out now. If these aren't his paintings, and they may be, but if they aren't, and this is the second art robbery that has happened in, let's say a month, that seems a little bit suspicious that it might have happened. You see where I'm coming at?
I'm pitching. I see what you're getting at, Luther, but I'm less concerned about art theft than I am about breaking the Masquerade. The police can deal with art theft. What are you getting at?
No, what I'm saying is the people that are stealing the art might be using kindred like us in a vulnerable state to go get it for them. I can tell you right now that I really don't believe Morgaine is the one who went in and actually got this on her own volition. I believe that that something a little bit darker might be happening here.
Roll perception empathy again.
Can I do that as well?
Sure.
One success. Fuck, roll 20. What is it doing tonight? 3 ones.
Alright, Luther, you're not entirely sure. Dinah, you are a bit more assured by the look on his face that Marcel hopes Morgaine is not actually the problem, and this can be solved one way or another, that there is some other strange party involved. Not that that would be good for anybody, but, he doesn't dislike Morgaine, has no ill will in hoping that something terrible, befalls her after some strange incidents. But other than that look on his face, he shakes his head and says, I still don't understand why kindred would be targeted for such a thing. There are so many humans that could be paid or persuaded more easily to do the same job. Why kindred?
I mean, as we all know, especially as we get older, might get a little bit more bored just trying to manipulate humans, and maybe he decided to go after a little bit bigger of a fish to go bite the bait. If you see where I'm going, maybe he just decided that instead of going for humans and making an easy job of it, he wanted a little bit of a harder job.
Or it wasn't the kindred that did it, but that's a bit of a wilder idea.
Or yeah, it could have. That's true. It could have been anything. It's not like we don't have a mage problem on our hands, so I doubt they're interested in art thievery. I'm just saying it could have been anything or anyone that tried to convince her.
Marcel contemplates that concept, that there has been all this strange mage business lately in the city. But he still shakes his head again. Not even you still see that slight empathy toward Morgaine's situation, but he still shakes his head. It still just doesn't make sense. And he actually starts to turn his head toward Morgaine again, and her head has been hanging low for this. Morgaine, please, I need you to speak up. I'm not trying to accuse you of this specifically, but I need to know everything I can to help this investigation. And Morgaine slowly raises her head. Marcel, I don't know what to tell you. Like, why would I fucking do... Have I ever done anything like this? In all the time I've been in New Orleans, everything you've ever known about in her very standard Morgaine face, she starts rambling faster and faster, and he allows her to go for a bit before slowly putting up a hand again. Morgaine, please. She cuts herself off, and she's... takes in a breath, manually sighs, says, I'm sorry, Marcel, you have to believe I didn't do this. I wouldn't have any reason. Marcel, without giving anything else away specifically, just gives her one single nod. I want to find the end of this, because if Joshua is already worried about paintings missing, and now there is video evidence of one of our own stealing paintings, all I can think is another couple weeks from now, something else strange will happen in another gallery amongst the art buyers in the city. Who knows what? I want to stem this before it continues.
Well, punishing the innocent party is certainly not going to encourage that.
No, of course not, and at worst I would only ask that Morgane remain here in my domain so I can keep track of her.
That seems reasonable. Morgan?
Morgane looks a little uncomfortable, but then nods and starts nodding faster excitedly. Yes, no, of course, Marcel. I want you to know this isn't me. If you're welcoming me here, I mean, what else could I fucking do?
Do we think that anyone is... Do you think that the target was the art or Morgane? Because the answer to that question could probably clear up, or at least send us in some way of finding out the root of this.
Spirit, earlier I asked Morgane if she was having any problems with anyone, right?
Yes.
She said no, if I remember.
Yeah, no, like, she would have given you a very, like, almost kindred standard answer of, like, you know, there's some people that don't like me, but there's nobody I think would, like, try to set me up masquerade breaking level of, like, deviancy. At Dinah's mention, though, Marcel leans back, kind of arms over the couch behind him, sighs, starts staring up at the ceiling, and thinks, if the situations are tied, Joshua missing some paintings that he's been all aflutter about, and a couple paintings going missing from a new art gallery with a kindred far too involved as far as this video shows, we can potentially posit that the paintings are the problem, less more so than Morgane. Morgane, as I understand it, you and Joshua know each other, of course, but aren't very close, and Morgane, still a little twitchy, just... No, I love Joshua, but I mean, like, we barely spend any time together. The boy's so twitchy and flighty. I do my own thing, he does his. I don't worry too much about him. I like to see his paintings on display in galleries, and he rambles a couple more minutes long. But no, like, I would never steal any of his paintings, first of all, and secondly, I would never steal any paintings, alright? And then just, none of his. I didn't have anything to do with this. Marcel nods at her, and then of course Luther and Dinah, and says, Alright. I can't say one way or the other, but I think for now, if Morgane is willing to stay under, and I mean this just only as it's the best term to use, house arrest here with me, where I can watch her, and we can continue this investigation going forward without any worry of where she is, I think we can potentially make some headway and hopefully find someone else involved in all this. Yes?
I mean, that's not rightly up to us to decide. I'm sure that's a question for Morgane.
Morgane nods again, as she did when Marcel first brought up the idea of her staying. No, Marcel, I was worried I was going to be exiled from the city. If you want me to stay in your home while you investigate this, I'm perfectly fine with that. So Marcel nods and starts to stand. He makes a single hand wave at one of the servants that were standing by the video. They leave suddenly, and then he just folds his arm. Well, Luther, Dinah, and of course Morgane, is there anything else further you'd like to discuss this night? Of course, I know you're also worried about Rebecca. Is anything else turned up with that?
Yes, about that. We went and checked the hospital where she works, and she has not gone in tonight. Apparently, she switched shifts with someone. Although also we went back by the club to go get the video evidence of the two men who I, let's say, remember trying to take her.
The technocracy mages.
Yes, we have their picture and the video of them, but has somebody been watching them? Didn't we know where they were?
I've had feed watching at least their hotel for general comings and goings. I've been trying to keep a track of, they've mostly used cabs, so I've also been trying to keep track of where they're going, but it has been frustratingly mundane. Just grocery stores, cafes. Nothing else has really turned up as anything startling. Why?
Well, if they were the ones who were after Rebecca, I'm wondering how that happened.
Yes. I'm sorry to say, nothing in the reports that I've looked over or my people who've been much more diligent looking over the finer details have found anything. We are
very good at covering that track.
Potentially. I am sad to say I do not understand even a fraction of their capabilities. As far as I even understand the Tremere, I mean, that's why most of us won't interfere in their enterprises too much, because who knows exactly what they're capable of. So, with these being an entirely different species almost, I've been doing what I can. But no, I had no reference to them heading toward her apartment or anywhere else interesting. We've been dying to hope they go to some warehouse, some business, some factory, anything that would tie them to something in the city, and it's been so mundane. I feel like there's something else going on.
So have you gotten a report of their location over the last, let's say, 12 hours, maybe? Or are you still waiting for your next report?
I am waiting for a turn-in of any cabs that left that area, but nothing again has seemed to report exactly either of their persons from the hotel room we're watching heading toward Rebecca's apartment. It is unfortunate.
Thank you.
Of course. Morgaine, and just as he says that, and about 2 minutes after the one servant had left, the one servant you'd met the one night that seemed much more like a very competent ghoul comes in, and Morgaine even seems to recognize him. She just walks up, and he very cordially puts his arm out and leads her off. Sanford will show you to a room. Now, Luther and Dinah, again, please let me know if there is anything else I can help with, but I think I have some further information to look into as far as this goes.
Thank you.
Of course. You enjoy the rest of your night there, Marcel, all right?
Thank you. You both as well. I'm sorry this month after our celebratory Fat Tuesday has been so stressful.
Yeah, I'm sure you've been pretty busy, huh?
More so than I would like, but of course, that's what I asked for with this position, isn't it? And he gives a really genuine grin.
I suppose it is.
What's up, Kaz?
So I wanted to actually ask Storyteller, as from the perspective of us as characters and some of us as extreme long-time, people in New Orleans, and the rest of us as still very long-time residents, does it seem overly so that things are going fucky right now? We've got werewolves, we've got mages, we've got missing people, we've got elders who were otherwise extraordinarily eccentric, but screwed up, messing up the parties with bad drugs and weird thing. Like, does this all feel like we're losing our grip as the Camarilla, or does this seem like business as usual?
In this city, especially, the Lupin kindred quandary, the tense situation, has been building very slowly over time. So even your interaction lately with them is actually nothing new. And it hasn't been worse. It's just been them, as Marie and Chase mentioned on like your first encounter, of like, the humans keep expanding and we can't necessarily stop them, but you move with them, and our agreement was you stayed here and like you've been moving with them.
The overall, it's what I was interested in, is like the overall attitude. Like, does this feel like
sure.
a...
In one sentence, it's a little worse than usual, but not polar ice caps melting. So more storms than usual, but not the seas rising. You know what I mean?
Not critical to the point to where Theo would be like, look, our city's starting to fall apart. Basically, Theo wants to like take Bjorn and go in front of the prince and be like, look, everything seems to be falling apart in a short amount of time, and this is weird. What is going on, and what are we going to do to fix it?
Trump has become president, but we're not having nuclear war.
So real fucking bad? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So Theo wouldn't want...
I'm sorry, I thought that was fucking good.
It was. Try not to be political here. We're all here for fantasy. Fuck the real world.
I'm just giving you what first came into my head.
Alright, fine. Okay, cool enough.
Things are fucky, but not so much that you'd be freaking out.
I don't feel like we're gonna lose the city soon.
No, but it's that like early period of like, hey, like we've barely seen the technocracy mages be active in a while. The Lupins are up in arms. These Black Sky Dancer werewolves that like we've barely heard of before. Wait, what's their name? Black Spiral Dancers, which we've barely heard of before, except the Octina, who we've had okay relationships with, are now getting antsy about them. It's like this storm on the horizon that might end up just being a heavy downpour, but you're scared it might bring something else. Like, if you had no weather forecast and that, like, heavy, dark clouds on the horizon and the thunder could be, to someone without weather forecasting, a big storm or actual Armageddon, you don't know. But you're just, like, trying to head it off, you know. Close your windows, make sure you have extra water and bread in the house. That's the feeling. You're sure it can be dealt with, but you want to deal with it before... You don't want to sit idle, because if you do, that's when shit goes bad.
One other weird question. You
Okay.
don't have to answer this right now if you don't feel comfortable answering it, but you always yell at me for asking you shit outside of stream. Does anyone have more domain than the prince, or than me, outside of obviously the prince? Are there other large, like very large land, like 6 dots domain stakeholders in the city? You don't have to answer tonight. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I'm actually even just checking. And actually, I'm going to tell you because the answer is no. So actually, no. You and the prince definitely have the highest domain. There's going to be a couple other kindred that have moderate domain, and then also, like, there's a resource version of domain where it's like they own a club. It might not technically be the same as domain, but it's like, hey, I actually own that building. I can call the cops if you're doing something weird there. But you know, certainly you and the prince have the highest domain, absolutely, out of all the player characters, and pretty much out of all the NPCs even. So, there's certainly NPCs that are as old as you, Bjorn, and Abraham, and they have their own types of domain, haven, contacts, allies, resources, etc., 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 but not proper domain. They cared less about having an area. Like, Dutch is quite old. He's about as old as you, Bjorn, and Abraham, and he's been in New Orleans for a long time. But he cared more about people than space. So
Yeah. I meant specifically, like, rules of the Masquerade, domain-wise, does anyone own more than me in New Orleans?
Nope.
Well, except for the prince, because obviously he owns all of New Orleans, because he's the prince, but...
Kinda, yeah. There's a he still has his own, like, personal domain, but, like, technically the rest of New Orleans is his concern. But no, nobody other than you two. But going back to Luther and Dinah for a little bit, before we wrap up kind of exactly where we are with this. Well, okay, so Theo and Bjorn, Morgana's going to stay at the mansion, and you guys are leaving. Do you have anything else you want to say to the prince or to each other when you're outside?
I don't think I have anything
Theo
to
and
say to
Bjorn,
the...
before you two. Sorry.
We're not there. This is their scene to finish up.
No, I was saying, before I jump to Luther and Dinah, Theo and Bjorn, when you leave Marcel's mansion.
You've skipped, you're backwards. It's Dinah and... They're the ones at the mansion with the prince. Theo and Bjorn are totally at a Tremere person's house.
Sorry, I don't know why I did that.
Yeah, you got that backwards.
Luther and Dinah, did you have anything else you wanted to say to the prince before leaving with Morgane staying there?
No, nothing to the prince. Maybe, I don't know, Dinah, do you want to have like a conversation or something like that outside?
Yeah, you guys are walking back to your car.
I mean, I don't have anything in particular to talk about yet.
Yeah, neither do I.
Unless Luther wanted to, I don't know.
No, it kind of just would have been like a, so what are we, like, I guess we just go on.
What do we even do? I don't know. I guess we wait and see if our friends are dead. This is great. I love this pod every time.
Alright, we might then next game downtime the rest of this night, or we'll figure out exactly how much you guys still want to cover before you have to go to sleep before the sun shows up. But back at Nigel's apartment with Theo and Bjorn, Theo and Bjorn are quietly sipping the rest of their fancy blood wine, while Nigel had disappeared into essentially a creepy fancy study that makes a weird noise when he closes the door. Let's see. So I'm gonna restart Roll20 because I haven't been able to hear the music and I was like, it's just me. It does that sometimes.
I can hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Alright, as long as you guys can, because I can't. I don't know what's going on. But that's good.
You're playing the song. Not the song, but the song.
My favorite atmospheric dark song. Alright, so the two of you wait quietly as Nigel disappears into a room for a while, and he shortly reappears back in the kitchen, or well, he walks down a hallway from that room that he entered earlier, and he has the cell phone. In this point, instead of the napkin he had originally let you place it into, in a small bit of like white silk, but still cupped openly in his hand, and walks into the kitchen. He sets it down for a second and drowns the last of his glass before setting it down. So, part of the problem with this ritual is that I will have to come along with you. It can also deviate for a number of reasons. Sorry, it's a path I can potentially follow. But it can deviate, especially if the person crossed any moving water.
I'll look over at Bjorn. I would think Bjorn would look over at the same time, sort of like are we okay with this? I would assume Bjorn's okay with this.
Bjorn would, as you said, look over at you, and I'll give you that, just slightest of head tilt saying, affirming, yes.
I don't have any problem. We really appreciate your help. Bjorn's like, or not Bjorn, but fuck, I'm not Bjorn. Theo, the person that I am. Theo is like,
It's okay, then Theo is going to take his arm off and slap him. And donkeys and goats.
We haven't gotten to the donkeys and goats. That's advanced Theo. No, he'll like nod to you like as long as it's okay. I really don't have a problem with you. I mean, I just appreciate your help, honestly. And he's gonna take another sip of the wine. And, your hospitality, I don't see what reason you have for. It's almost too much, though. That'll sound not accusatory, just like, why the hell are you helping us again?
Theo, if you'd like, I'll give you perception, empathy. It's gonna be 9 difficulty, but it'll be pass or fail. There won't be a botch on it. Bjorn, you can roll it too if you want. If you're equally confused. Oh boy.
Nay.
Okay.
What was the dice
Not a
roll you
botch,
called?
but nay.
Why he's being like so forward when like he doesn't know you, he doesn't know the prince anything. This is a random person missing he doesn't know.
No. What was the specific dice?
Oh, perception, empathy at 9, pass or fail.
Nope, failed.
I'll get rid of all. I'll get rid of all my ones now. It's fine.
Nice. Alright, so you're still in the dark about why he's being so helpful.
What's his answer when I ask that?
He takes a pause and obviously seems to almost kind of contemplate his answer for a moment, but without even a roll, I'm gonna say he seems pretty genuine when he explains that I have always been interested in the human mages of the city. I would personally be interested in speaking to this young
Theo
fellow.
cuts him off. You're not gonna. I'm very old. Very old. And I deeply care about this girl. You're not gonna hurt her or try any funny science experiments. I'm not accusing you. There's some nasty fuckers out there who tear someone apart just to try to figure out magic.
Perception, empathy at 5.
Six successes.
Nigel puts his hands up, genuinely just, no, Theo, please. I know how that must have sounded for a second there. I would like to help. I mean it. I hope that this young girl is alright. I have no more interest but in helping you, not only on the prince's behalf, but the idea of some poor magic user in the hands of these technocrats. From what I've heard of them, I would like to do what I can to get her free, if she's in their hands, if she's even just on the run, to get her home and safe. And he seems 100% genuine.
I honestly, thank you. I don't know.
He sounds almost like a sad grandpa.
I don't know how to be more thankful. The curiosity around her is dangerous. You know, it's dangerous sometimes. They sooner take her apart than ask her a question.
Of course, I didn't mean that when I would like a genuine conversation with the young lady.
I'm sorry to accuse. I'm just on edge. She's missing now.
Of course. We should get moving, though. I'll need you to take me to the last place the cell phone was, though, because that will be the... And you can actually, I'm not even gonna ask you, but, like, perception alertness-wise, you see him holding it and looking in, like, slightly different directions, like as if someone was, like, holding a compass and then looking up.
Yeah, we can take you to her apartment. We actually came from there straight here. The cell phone was with another person, but that's the last location it was at. If that matters, I don't know, but we can take you to where she was. We even had our Ventrue friends look about the window and the place, and
that is what I need. I need this from the last place it was, where she was last holding it.
I'll text a number to the car service that Abraham uses.
Okay.
Which I know that there's either ghouls or some way that it works out that I don't have to worry. And just it's Uber Black Vampire Edition. Zombies are okay too.
It's like an Uber, but like you text the right code and they know what group of people to send out.
Yeah. It's a service he has contracted specifically for these meetings. And I know his account number.
Alright. Well, not to cut it much shorter than we usually do, but missing a couple people. I don't want to go too far ahead in this story, so we are going to wrap it here for tonight. I want to thank my players for being super awesome. You guys are always amazing. Always so much fun to play with you guys. I want to thank the audience who both watches us live and everybody who watches us on YouTube later when we upload it. Thank you guys so much for enjoying our games and hanging out with us. If you want to follow us on Twitter, the link is down below, both on YouTube and Twitch. If you want to join our Discord, that link is also below. We talk about this game, but also basically everything under the sun. You can just join us. I think we have a really fun, awesome community, so we would love for you to join us. Sorry that June has been quite a messy month. A lot of us have those stupid IRL stuff, you know, jobs and moving and whatever. But we should be getting back on track sooner than later. I believe this Friday we should have D&D. The Monday after, I will post on Twitter and Discord if we're playing our Price of Blood game. Tuesday should be good, and the Friday after will also be canceled, just as a head up for everybody watching now. But again, if you join our Twitter and our Discord, we will post when we're playing and give heads up if we are going to be missing something. We're just, you know, just that summer fun business. Being a little busy, stuff going on. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We love you all, and we will see you soon. So, bye-bye!
Good night.